Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for June 5th, 2025. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. The commissioners who are present this evening are at City Hall. We have one commissioner who may join us in person or on Zoom, and we'll acknowledge that when that happens. We also have staff from the city attorney's and the city clerk's office, as well as the city's planning department. If you're joining us on Zoom this evening, we can see that you are here. You may observe the meeting, however, your ability to be on screen and talk will be muted. During the public testimony of the meeting, you'll be unmuted and then be able to comment. Please note that we cannot take questions until the public testimony portion of the meeting. If you have a process question during the meeting, please email cityclerk@meridiancity.org and they will reply as quickly as possible. If you simply want to watch the meeting, we encourage you to watch this streaming on the city's YouTube channel. You can access it at meridiancity.org/live. With that, let us begin with roll call.
Thank you. Commissioner Perot?
Here.
Commissioner Stoll? Here. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Lorcher?
Here. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. There are no changes to tonight's agenda, and we have 9 items tonight. So if we run long, we may not open new items after 10 p.m., but we'll see how we go. Please note that item number 2, Jackson Food Stores at 10 Mile and Overland has withdrawn their application. And number 3, Idaho Power McDermott Substation has requested a continuance. So if there's anyone here tonight to testify on these 2 applications, we will not be taking public testimony for this evening. Could I get a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to adopt tonight's agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which include to approve the minutes of the May 15th Planning and Zoning meeting. Could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
It's been moved and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I would like to briefly explain the public hearing process. We will open each item individually and begin with the staff report. Staff will report their findings on how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and our unified development code. After staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward to present their case and respond to staff's comments. They will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant has finished, we will open to the floor to public testimony. Each person will be called only once during public testimony. The clerk will call names individually of those who've signed up on our website in advance to testify. You may come to the microphones in chambers, or you may be unmuted on Zoom. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. If you've previously sent pictures or a presentation for the meeting, it will be displayed on screen, and our clerk will help you run the presentation. If you have established that you are speaking on the behalf of a larger group like an HOA, where others from that group will allow you to speak on their behalf, you will have up to 10 minutes. After all those who have signed up in advance have spoken, we will invite others who may wish to testify. If you wish to speak on a topic, you may come forward in chambers, or if on Zoom, press the raise hand button, or if you're listening on a telephone, press *9 and wait for your name to be called. If you're listening on multiple devices, such as a computer and a phone, please be sure to mute those extra devices so we don't experience feedback. When you are finished, if the commission does not have questions for you, you will return to your seat in chambers and be muted on Zoom and no longer have the ability to speak. And please remember, we will not call on you a second time. After all testimony has been heard, the applicant will be given another 10 minutes to come back and respond. When the applicant has finished responding to the questions and concerns, we will close the public hearing, and the commissioners will have an opportunity to discuss and hopefully be able to make final decisions or recommendations to City Council as needed. So with that in mind, tonight I would like to open the public hearing for item number 3, Idaho Power McDermott Substation, who has requested continuance. Mr. Clerk, do we have a suggested date for a continuance for McDermott Substation?
Madam Chair, I believe they were looking at June 26th, but Stephanie Hopkins is on Zoom and able to speak.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Does June 26th work for you?
Yes, it does.
All right. Can I get a motion to, for a continuance, please?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith,
I move to continue file number H-2025-0008 to the date of June 26th.
Second.
it's been moved in second to move Idaho Power McDermott Substation to June 26th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the PAW subdivision, item number 2024-0073 for a preliminary plat and a conditional use permit for a subdivision at 1680 West Ustick Road. With that, we will begin with the staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. So tonight we are here for a preliminary plat and conditional use permit. This site consists of 4.77 acres of land. It's zone CC and R40, and it's located at 680 West Ustick Road. So in 2022, a proposal to rezone 3.42 acres of the subject property to CC, from CC to R40, and a preliminary plat for 33 townhouse lots, 2 lots for vertically integrated buildings, and with 6 residential units each, 1 commercial lot, and 10 common lots, along with a conditional use permit for the townhomes in the R40 zoning district. So this proposal was approved by the City Council. It was recommended approval by P&Z and recommended for approval by City Council. However, the preliminary plat expired prior to receiving the city engineer's signature, along with the conditional use permit that was part of the application. So the applicant is back requesting the same items, the preliminary plat and the conditional use permit. There's 49 lots. It's the same lots that were previously approved and 3 private streets. So because townhomes are allowed by a conditional use permit in the R40 zoning. So although, so this is their landscape plan. So this is their concept plan. So although it has not been determined what type of future use will occur on the commercial lot, the concept plan suggests that there's going to be a drive-through establishment. If a drive-through is proposed in the future, it will require the approval of a conditional use permit once the user has been identified. So this is their concept plan. This lot, building H and G are for your vertically integrated. That's a mixture of commercial and residential. These lots are for the townhomes, and this is a commercial lot, and as you can see, the drive-through proposal for this. So building elevations were submitted with this application. The elevations show townhomes are comprised of materials consisting of rock, cement board, and hardy board, lap siding, pitch roofs, exposed timber frames, and trellis features with stone bases. Windows are included on many of the garage doors. The elevation demonstrates significant fenestration and modulation, as well as a variety of roof lines. Most buildings also include a first floor covered porch or second story decks. So staff finds that the elevations as proposed demonstrate high quality design, but the elevations for the vertically integrated buildings don't quite meet. They reflect a townhome design rather than a commercial building. And so at the time of design review, they will need to meet the commercial architectural design standards. And so staff is recommending approval of this application with the conditions that are outlined in our staff report. We did not receive any written testimony on this, and so at this time, I stand for any questions you might have on this application, but the applicant is here and has a presentation.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Chairperson, Commissioners, Jeremy Amar, 1580 West Cayuse Creek Drive in Meridian. And looks like we have a presentation up. So thank you, Linda. As staff explained, we are back again. We had this approved in 2022. At the end of last year, I went to apply for my extension and learned or relearned that it's tied to the preliminary plat date, not the final plat date. So staff was helpful to us to start over, but we are coming back with the same project. We have a development agreement that is in place, construction plans that are currently approved, and just this year we've gone back with the engineer and Public Works to engineering department to make sure that approval is current. So we are looking at a townhome project with 2 vertically integrated units that will front Ustick and Linder. It's mostly an infill project. There's still some farmland next to us as well that we would love to someday do something with, but we're filling in next to the Windsong community to the west. PA is Pavilion at Windsong. However, with the county's plat naming requirements, we couldn't use Pavilion, so we named the plat PA. But the project is Pavilion at Windsong.
Okay.
So it won't be PA subdivision anywhere but the plat and all the official approvals and whatnot. It's surrounded by, like I said, it's infill, surrounded by other neighborhoods near Sawtooth Middle School. Hunter Elementary School is the closest, Rocky Mountain High School. The staff showed some elevations. One of the items that we worked with when we previously worked with on staff, Crosswind Street, I guess we can see here that's highlighted. There's a bit of concern that it's one long street out right onto Linder. And so we've done a bulb out and worked with ACHD at the time to get that approved. And so there will be some traffic calming at that location, as well as a 3-way stop at the intersection. The only elevation change that I have, I brought this for the vertically integrated units as we talked with staff. The lower floor of them, we've changed our preliminary design to have more of that commercial look. So more storefront doors, storefront glass, so that it really can have a commercial look. And we will work with staff as we go through design review process and CZC on it to make sure it does meet all of the commercial requirements. With that, I stand for any questions.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, do we have anybody signed up for this application?
Madam Chair, we have names here, but only one person indicated they wanted to speak, Mark Graham. Different project?
different
Okay.
project. All right, anybody else in chambers want to speak on this project on PAW? Jeremy, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? Okay, then I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
It's been moved and second to close the public hearing for the PAW subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Motion carries. With this one, we actually already did all the work and we had approved it before. I think all of the concerns from the neighborhood previous to this were addressed. And I like the idea that they're still going to work with city planners on the commercial design standards. So, you know, considering it is a busy corner, if this design stays the way in real world, you've got a fair amount of buffer and green space there too, so it works for me. Any other comments from commissioners?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith?
after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I'd like to move to approve file number H-2024-0073 as presented in the staff report.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the PA subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is item number H 2025-0021, Elite Fitness, and we will begin with the staff report.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the commission. The next item on the agenda is the conditional use permit for Elite Fitness. The applicant requests a conditional use permit to operate indoor recreation facility in Suite 120 of an existing 23,000 square foot flex building. Site consists of 1.33 acres of land located at 2640 East State Avenue. And as shown on the screen, the existing zoning is IL, which is our light industrial zone, and the flume designation is mixed use non-residential. The proposed use of an indoor recreation facility is a conditional use in the IL zone, and the IL zone is meant to provide opportunities for business and employment, which typically includes light manufacturing, research and development, warehousing, and distribution. However, due to a lack of commercial tenant vacancies, indoor recreation facilities have been exploring spaces in the IL zone, and it is becoming more common. While there are several indoor recreation facilities in the area as indicated on the map, there's K1 Speed, the Flying Pickle as in this larger warehouse, and we also have another indoor gym and a jujitsu gym as well in the other smaller building where this tenant will be located at. This indoor recreation facility is more specialized, allowing trainers and clients to have a more privatized training environment with no more than 14 people at the facility at any one time. Additionally, there will be no outside activity. The proposed indoor recreation facility provides another unique recreational opportunity for residents. The site has already been approved and constructed and contains 2 other indoor recreation facilities, as I just mentioned. And due to this building being an industrial building with primarily indoor recreation facilities as tenants, staff did ask the applicant to provide a parking analysis. However, the site did meet the 1 space per 500 square feet of gross floor area for commercial. And based on the parking analysis, it does appear that there will be adequate room for the addition of another indoor recreation facility. And staff is recommending approval with conditions and has not received any written testimony at this time, and I'll stand for questions.
Would the applicant like to come forward? No applicant? Oh, you don't want to speak? Okay, all right, well, thank you. Do we have anybody signed up for, oh, Chris left. Would anybody like to speak on Elite Fitness? I don't think, we didn't have any written testimony. So nobody signed up. Okay, you're good. Nick said everything. Commissioners, do we have any other questions for staff? Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to close the public hearing for Elite Fitness. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This one seems pretty straightforward. The pickleball courts there, the virtual reality gym is there, the jujitsu gym is there. It seems like a good fit. I frequent this street and it's pretty wide open all times during the day, so I think flow is good for the people to be able to come and go.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Perot?
after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve file number H 2025-0021 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 5th, 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve Elite Fitness. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We're good. Next on the agenda is item number 2025-0018 for El Pollo Loco at 3471 West Chinden for a conditional use permit. And we will begin with the staff report.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, the next item on the agenda is the conditional use permit for El Pollo Loco. The applicant requests a conditional use permit for a 2,000 square foot drive-through establishment within 300 feet of another drive-through and a residential district. The site consists of 0.87 acres of land located at 3471 West Chinden Boulevard. And as shown on the screen, the existing zoning is CG and the future land use map is commercial. So in 2018, the subject property was annexed as a part of a larger development in the area consisting of residential and commercial properties zoned R40 and CG and included in the preliminary plat. A development agreement was required as a provision of the annexation which governs the future development of the property. The site is among several commercially zoned properties at the corner of Chinden Boulevard and 10 Mile Road in the Lost Rapids subdivision. The proposed use of a drive-through with a restaurant with a drive-through aligns with the desired uses specified in the commercial designation in the comprehensive plan. In conjunction with the neighboring drive-throughs, which include Key Bank, Swig, Dutch Bros, and Slim Chickens, as well as Costco's fueling facility and Costco to the south, the proposed use does satisfy the commercial flume designation for the area. While a comprehensive plan did not envision all the lots fronting Chinden Boulevard as drive-throughs, the market has led them to become drive-throughs. In addition, El Pollo Loco has indicated their hours of operation are intended to be 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., which is consistent with the UDC and surrounding businesses. The hours of operation were an important factor during the original entitlement of the subdivision from the neighboring subdivisions. It is also important to note that the applicant is providing 2 tenant spaces on the property, the first being El Pollo Loco, and the second will either be developed as a retail or restaurant use, both which will be permitted uses in the CG zone. Access is proposed via a private drive out on the south portion of the site. The site plan accommodates queuing for a minimum of 8 vehicles before the menu board and 12 vehicles before the pickup window. Based on the data provided by El Pollo Loco, this appears to be sufficient. According to the applicant, their Southern California locations serve approximately 325 vehicles per day, typically maintaining a queue of around 6 vehicles with occasional peaks of 7 to 8 vehicles. Staff is recommending approval with conditions and has received written testimony from Wade Ramsey, the HOA president of Bainbridge subdivision, reiterating that the neighboring residents desire to have El Pollo Loco closed before midnight and no overnight deliveries. And I'll stand for questions at this time.
Would the applicant like to come forward? They're online.
Madam Chair, Stephen Shaw should be able to join the meeting any moment now.
Mr. Shaw, can you hear me?
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes. If you can state your name and address for the record, that would be great.
Somehow I ended up on a tropical island, but as long as you can see me.
Okay.
Stephen Shaw, I'm with the architect's office, R.M.A. Davis, New Love. And on the call, in case there's any questions from the commissioners, we also have the project manager and owners. Want to thank the commissioners tonight, and especially Nick. He's been really great to work with. It's nice to see his face. We've talked for several months and I haven't even seen him. So hello, Nick. Thanks for all your help. I know you guys have a big agenda, so I don't know if you're familiar with El Pollo Loco. They started in Southern California and have now expanded to other parts of the country. They have more than 400 locations. Really excited to be coming to Idaho. This is one of the first. And we pride ourselves on offering a healthier alternative to typical fast food restaurants with grilled chicken and salads and just a little bit better choice for people that want to drive-through use. Given the agenda, I'll just address the biggest issue here is the drive-through and the traffic in that area with the Costco and the other uses there. Obviously, a number of drive-throughs. Unfortunately, people prefer double doubles to our grilled chicken. So our queues, as was noted by Nick, are typically in the 6-7 range at even some of our busier restaurants. So we don't have any, we don't see any issue here with queuing and traffic. We're not in and out, and we're not Dutch Bros. We don't attract that kind of traffic. So we would not pick a location or a site that we felt there'd be an issue with queuing or traffic, because then our customers are affected and they tend not to show up. So we pick locations we know we can serve in a proper time. So with that, I can say again that we have the owners and the project manager on the call if there's any other questions, but I'll thank you all tonight for hearing us out.
Two things, a little housekeeping. If you can say your address for the record, please.
Yeah, the office address, 1330 Olympic Boulevard, Santa Monica, California, 90404.
Thank you very much. The only
Thank
question
you.
I have, which has come up from the neighboring subdivision, is delivery hours. So it said in the staff report that you were going to be open from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. When do you anticipate deliveries for your product?
I spoke to the owners today, and we can do deliveries during the day. We can avoid overnight deliveries.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to testify?
Madam Chair, it looks like Tom Robinson. Okay, different
Wrong
project.
application, okay. Is there anybody in chambers that would like to make a comment about El Pollo Loco? Mr. Shaw, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you all very much, especially to Nick. Thanks, Nick.
All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
It's been moved and second to close the public hearing for El Pollo Loco. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, I am a fan of El Pollo Loco. So, I think it's very interesting that you're going to be next to Slim Chickens. So that'll be interesting to see which way people are going to go. Commissioners, any other comments about this application?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith?
only other comment is I tend to agree. I don't see any problem with it. The queuing, I've been to plenty of El Pollo Locos in my time, and I've never seen the line super long. So I don't have any issues there. So totally content with this.
All right, after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve file number H 2025-0018 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 5th, with no modifications. It's been moved and second to approve El Pollo Loco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, we're moving right along, which is a good thing. Item number 7 for Rockwell Greens subdivision, item number 2025-0002 for annexation, preliminary plat, and alternative compliance located near the northwest corner of Highway 16 and McMillan Road. With that, we will begin with the staff report.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, the next item on the agenda is the annexation preliminary plat and alternative compliance for Rockwell Green subdivision. I do want to note that the alternative compliance is a director determination, a director approval. So I just included on the application because it was
Okay.
part of it. So the applicant requests annexation of 51.15 acres of land with the R15 zoning district, a preliminary plat consisting of 412 building lots and 27 common lots, and alternative compliance for the city standards for developments abutting a state highway. The site consists of 51.15 acres of land generally located at the northwest corner of State Highway 16 and McMillan Road. As shown on the screen, the existing zoning is RUT in Ada County, and the future land use map is medium density residential. This property lies within the field sub-area plan, a 4 square mile planning area located in the northwest corner of the city's area of impact. This plan promotes a cohesive modern rural character across all new development and emphasizes a high quality design. The proposed density for the 51.15 acres of land with the R15 zoning district equates to 8.05 units per acre. And this is on the high end of the medium density designation, residential designation, which staff does have concerns with, as there's currently a lack of connectivity to commercial and neighborhood serving uses, no regional park, and the nearby schools are over capacity currently. However, the applicant has exceeded the minimum requirements for open space with 17.1% instead of 15% required, and amenities that total 26.5 points instead of the 10 that are required as outlined in the UDC. They have also noted that a new elementary school is currently under construction in Star, and the boundary lines will be adjusted in the 2026-2027 school year, which is anticipated to relieve some of the existing capacity issues. And West Ada School District has confirmed this in their letter as well. Staff has communicated these concerns to the applicant and recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council carefully evaluate whether this level of density is appropriate given the current context. In evaluating comparable developments west of State Highway 16, the Gander Creek subdivision, which was approved in 2019, and the Chikara Ridge subdivision approved in 2020, had gross densities of 3.42 and 4.9 units per acre respectively. Additionally, the average density within a 1 mile radius of the proposed site is approximately 5.83 units per acre. Additionally, the proposed subdivision borders the future alignment of State Highway 16, which is considered a hazard in the comprehensive plan's existing conditions document due to factors such as high vehicle speeds, accident frequency, and impacts on air quality. These elements are critical in assessing the suitability of the proposed subdivision. Staff are particularly concerned about air quality given the subdivision's proposed density at the upper end of the medium density residential flume designation would expose a larger number of residents to the recognized hazard compared to a lower density development. Similar developments on the west side of State Highway 16, as mentioned before, were approved at 3.42 and 4.0 units, 4 units per acre on the lower end of the medium density residential flume. To address these concerns, the applicant has requested alternative compliance to the mitigation standards outlined in the UDC for developments near federal and state highways. This included a sound engineer's report that found the expected outdoor worst case peak hour noise to be 62 to 64 decibels A weighted with a berm and wall proposed, and which is deemed an acceptable rate of sound. The sound engineer concludes that the traffic noise level are expected to be less than the 65 decibels A-weighted day-night average sound level. The berm and barrier are required to help mitigate the noise, and the residential buildings along the first row nearest the highway should have additional consideration for the floors above the ground floor as the 6-foot wall and 6-foot berm may not adequately block the line of sight from State Highway 16 to these spaces. The applicant's mitigation proposal includes a 6-foot berm with a 6-foot wall on top of it to mitigate noise, alongside the use of enhanced building materials designed to meet stricter sound attenuation standards. The applicant has also exceeded the minimum requirements for open space and amenities, as earlier mentioned. This approach aligns with the alternative compliance granted to the Gander Creek development in 2024, though the current proposal involves a higher density than the prior approval. The director did support the alternative compliance request for sound attenuation as meeting the UDC's requirement for a 10-foot wall above the center line of State Highway 16 would have necessitated a 30-foot structure or larger. In addition to this, the applicant has worked with city staff to propose thicker vegetation coverage along State Highway 16 in the form of 1 tree for every building lot and 1 tree every 20 feet in the open space along State Highway 16, instead of the 1 tree every 35 feet as required by code. Additionally, the applicant has agreed to meet the 80% vegetation coverage along Highway 16 instead of the 70% required by the UDC, excluding the 12-foot irrigation road. Access is proposed off North Erstad Place, which was constructed by the Idaho Transportation Department, or ITD, and remains under ITD ownership as the only access provided to the development. ACHD has not accepted the right-of-way from ITD yet, and this will require the applicant to work with the Transportation Authority for approval of the work within the right-of-way for future submittals, if approved. This collector road is shared between the proposed subdivision and the future Coal Valley Christian School, which is just to the west. Right in here. The northernmost access is not supported by staff, as the UDC 11.3A3 requires limiting access points to collector and arterial roadways. A secondary access is a concern for staff. However, the applicant, since the publication of the staff report, the applicant has coordinated with the Meridian Fire Department and has come up with a proposal that will satisfy these requirements and will be required with submittal of the final plat. Additionally, staff would like to note that we have a draft report from ACHD, but not a finalized one, as the applicant is working with ACHD on conditions of approval. The applicant has stated that the first homes would be occupied in 2027 with a projected build-out rate of 50 to 60 homes per year. Full build-out is anticipated between 2035 and 2037. In summary, staff finds the proposed preliminary plat and R15 zoning district to be generally consistent with the future land use map, comprehensive plan, and UDC. However, due to the development's density, its location next to a future state highway, and current service limitations in the area, staff recommends the commission and planning and zone and city council closely evaluate whether this proposal aligns with the broader goals and readiness for the surrounding area. Staff has worked with the applicant since the publication of the staff report to modify some of the conditions, and these are the ones that have been modified that we will be asking you guys to adopt tonight with your decision or recommendation to council. Staff is recommending approval with a development agreement and has received written testimony from Craig Cooper, Sean Freeman, with concerns about traffic, quality of life, density, and overcrowding of schools. And I'll stand for questions at this time.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hey, everybody. Keith Clark, 251 East Front Street in Boise, representing the applicant. And Commissioner Stoll, I promise I won't be here every time you're here, just the first 2 times. Oops. So we are here to talk about the Rockwell subdivision. You've seen the general location near Highway 16. This is just north of Owyhee High School. Per the comprehensive plan, this is an MDR area. There's very varied uses that are planned along here. You have a number of mixed use nodes, both north and to the southwest. As Nick mentioned, we do have a future school site as our neighbor on the west. And then in addition, you have Owyhee High School and a future elementary school site just to the south. And it is part of the Fields sub-area plan, which I think is an important element of what we're going to discuss tonight. So that Fields sub-area plan was adopted in 2021. That's after some of the projects that Nick mentioned. The Fields plan really does set the stage for residential development in this area. It was a moment for the city to look at that 4 square miles. Commissioner Peralta remembers this very well. Look at that 4 square miles and kind of evaluate what's going to happen up there. Residential neighborhood is planned for this site. I also wanted to point out that the city has invested pretty seriously in infrastructure in this area. So not only do you have Fire Station number 8 and the new Northwest Police Station, which are just maybe a half-mile south of this location, you also have new sewer infrastructure that is going in. There's the lift station over on McMillan, but this is in a different sewer shed. Water and sewer have already been pulled across Highway 16 and are available at the site right now. And our sewer shed ends at our western boundary. So this is not opening the floodgates of anything. The city isn't very much in control of additional development and with the other sewer facilities that are being put in. Also with the Fields sub-area, there is the modern rural thematic that's promoted that talks about the split rail fence, that talks about no-mow fescue type areas. We've looked at that very closely with staff. We updated our landscaping plan to make sure that's handled. We also have a new condition of approval that asks us to put in some more split rail to really match what the feeling is intended to be for this property. So you've seen the site plan. As Nick mentioned, open space, we're in excess, we're at 17.1%. Pedestrian connectivity is an important part of this. We're going to have the 10-foot pathways on our west side and on our south. So that totals up to just shy of about a half mile in terms of linear feet of regional pathways. The amenity point requirement for this application is 10. We're at 20, just shy of 27. That includes a community pool and changing rooms, fenced play structures, pickleball, dog parks. Pretty consistent with this development team as well as what you've seen in the past. Our home elevations include single level, 2-story, and then we also have attached product that will be provided as part of this project. So with regard to the items that Nick had flagged, we did work on the secondary access question. As you know, if you don't have a secondary access, you get limited to 30 lots. We've identified the location for that secondary access. So this is on the southeast corner of the project down at McMillan. And so that is where we've identified that to be located, and we've addressed that issue. With regard to school capacity, Nick hit some of this, but I think everyone's really largely focused on elementary schools, and we do believe that that's also addressed. As mentioned, the Pleasant View Hunter Elementary Schools, the West Ada has already done they've revisited the boundary here in the last couple of months. They're going to have a follow-up this fall to look at those boundaries one more time. In addition, we have the new Star Elementary School that'll be opening in 2026. That'll be before we have any residents at this property. So that means another elementary school that could potentially take pressure off. And then, this is what we always end up looking at is, as you guys remember, the West Ada School District letters always say, hey, here's the capacity. If there's an issue with capacity, we're going to do 4 things. We're going to look at boundaries. We're going to look at busing. We're going to look at portables. And then as a last, effort, that's when we would build. In this case, if they got to that point where they would end up building, there's already a future elementary school site that's, this is from the Fields area plan, but as you know, it's right there at the north side of Owyhee. With regard to the noise attenuation, as you can see from the picture below, the Highway 16 really doesn't tower over this property, and there is a pretty good gap between this property and Highway 16. When we talk about, a hazard, we kind of disagree with the term, but we definitely want to make sure that this is something that is going to be marketable for, for future homes. So that right of way is very wide between the street, or from the Highway 16 to the actual right of way line. And then from that right of way line, we have the 35-foot Meridian city buffer within which there's a 30-foot irrigation easement. We do have the 6-foot berm with a 6-foot fence on top. And as Nick mentioned, that resulted in a sound study reading of between 62 and 64 decibels. So if that, to translate, that's normal conversation. That's not a decibel reading that's going to trigger any issues with, if you were in a HUD situation, they would say that is not a problem. You're below those thresholds. In addition, you can see, we added the unmown fescue grass to try to be consistent with the Fields area plan and what it asks for. Nick kind of went quickly through the conditions of approval that we had worked on to modify. A lot of those are really just clarifications, and I'm happy to chat about any of those. The one item that we would ask for some, grace to work on between now and the city council hearing is condition 2C. That is the one that speaks to the stub on the northern side of the property. And what we've discovered is that there's a little bit of a disconnect between what ACHD is looking for and what city staff is looking for in terms of where that stub should be. And so we would ask to have a little time to work with staff and ACHD to clarify that one between now and council. But otherwise, we are in agreement with the conditions as Nick put them on the screen with all of the modifications. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple of questions. Help me with the visual. So you got Highway 16, and then it'll be sloped. And then you said is that where the irrigation easement kicks in?
No, so the irrigation easement is actually even further in. So you have the highway drops off, but
Right.
that's still highway right of way for, 75 feet, something like that.
Okay, so their access point.
Correct. Well, no, that's just distance. That's property that that ITD owns.
Right.
So between our boundary line and the physical Highway 16.
Okay, so then
And-
what comes next?
Then comes the Highway 16 right-of-way line. That's where that ends. And then you have a Meridian city imposed buffer of 35 feet.
Okay,
And our property line is 5 feet from that, at the end of that Meridian city buffer. So it's within that buffer, and we have our vegetative buffer that is included within all of that.
so if I'm on a house there and I'm looking out, what do I see? Is it a wall? Is it just the vegetation coming up from your berm?
Good question. Yeah, so if you're looking at this drawing, Commissioner Lorcher, so the house would be on the left side looking back toward the berm.
Okay,
So if you're looking back from your house, you're gonna have a 4-foot retaining wall, and then you're gonna have a 2-to-1 slope to get up to 6 feet. Then you're gonna have a 4-foot pad, which is gonna allow us to put in trees to have additional vegetative cover. And then at the end of that, you're gonna have another 6-foot fence.
okay.
So you got 12 feet from top to bottom between the berm and the fence to provide sound mitigation between these houses and Highway 16.
And is the irrigation on your side or on the other side of the wall?
The irrigation is on the other side of the wall. So the pipe for the irrigation and the gravel road that they'll be using to access that is on the other side, kind of at the base of that fescued area.
Okay, so that's not an amenity inside your,
Not an amenity, no.
all right, thank you very much. Did anybody else have any questions for Heath?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith?
I'm trying to visualize modern rural a little bit with this.
My house.
Well, so I think the problem is, and I don't think you're trying to be disingenuous or anything here. I'm just having visual issues. This kind of visual is obviously more, I don't know, 3 units an acre instead of kind of pushing to 8. So I'm just curious how you kind of envision squaring that level of density with modern rural. I'm having trouble kind of visualizing that.
Yeah, modern rural, Commissioner Smith, sorry to jump in. Commissioner Smith, so modern or rural is really a reflection of what the amenities look like and the design choices. So the fields plan is not limited to large lots, excuse me. As you look, this is the drawing from the fields plan. You can see that you have a combination of a lot of medium density residential throughout. You even have the mixed use areas. So when it comes to the thematic questions, that's really how are you designing your open spaces and what kind of elements are going to be included there. And specifically the fields area plan identifies these no-mow fescue areas and the split rail fence and that sort of thing. So again, more design and not density.
Okay. On the density issue though, I'm curious, and I'm not trying to pry at a proprietary formula or anything, but curious of how kind of this density level was arrived at, this kind of number of lots. It seems like, you know, it is allowed, but it does seem like it's kind of a departure a little bit from some of the surrounding areas from what I can see. And so I'm just curious how that kind of came to be.
Yeah, so when we're looking at the density choices, one of the things that we look at is where are you? In this case, we're right next to a transportation corridor. We're a stone's throw away from Owyhee High School. We're a stone's throw away from a future elementary school site. We're right next to the new fire station, right next to a new police station. In that case, we look at that and we think, okay, given all of that, a higher density is justified because you have all the facilities that are located there. And then that allows you to do a different kind of density, or the city to choose a different kind of density a little bit further out, further away from all those resources.
Thank you.
With that in mind, also, currently, you have the fire, you have the school, the mixture of schools, and you have the police, but you don't have any retail services. So if I'm going to get on Highway 16 when it opens in 2017 or 2027, I'm still either going to go down Owyhee Storm or McDermott Bypass. And I'm going to go all the way down McMillan to 10 Mile to Walmart, or I'm going to go to Garrity to the other one or whatever stores. So you say that the higher density is justified, but everybody who's going to be in this area, and I assume your time frame is 2026, 2027, will still have to travel away to be able to get any retail services.
Commissioner Lorcher, yeah. It's the age-old question, right? You don't get commercial until you get rooftops. And you need to have rooftops to have a seed for that commercial. So, it's what you see, if you go further west across the county line, Highway 44 corridor. It's not enough commercial because there's not enough rooftops because everything's too spread out over there. We look at this as being kind of almost like an anchor to be able to have enough rooftops to get people to take this area seriously for future commercial.
So I can't see this map very well, but I know obviously what happens at 10 Mile, and then you've got a Wahi Storm. Is there retail planned going west along McMillan?
You have, let's see, along McMillan. So you've got some kind of a mixture of residential through there, but you also have a couple of mixed use nodes.
Okay.
Kind of, if you go south next to Owyhee High School, you have the mixed use commercial. If you go north, you have the mixed use, is it a mixed use regional, I think, Bill, at the just north of, next to the mixed use institutional on Owyhee Storm. So there are, pockets that are planned.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioners, any other questions for Heath at this point? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to testify?
Madam Chair, no one signed up on this hearing.
So nobody on Zoom, I take it either. Okay, so Heath, we don't really have anybody else. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
It's been moved and second to close the hearing for Rockwell Green subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It's like the circle of life, right? I mean, I agree that it has been historic that the rooftops come first and then the commercial comes second. So I get that part. Full Christian is starting, but we're still a ways away. Highway 16 is, they say 2027. If it's anything, it'll be the end of 2027. I guess my biggest concern for this is the density at McMillan. Because, and I hope you work with ACHD, because there's no room at McMillan and McDermott Road to add signals, add lanes, add turnouts, because the highway is there and geographically it's limited. I can't imagine that you would build a product that would be so noisy that nobody would ever, would want to live there. So I appreciate the extra vegetation. I love the extra amenities to be able to make a marketable product. But you are, and I live in that area, I'm just down the street, so I totally get Highway 16 is going to be right there. If you look at currently, you're like the first in the fields, right? It's hard to say what's happening because we don't have a precedent that's really been set. There's a little bit on the west of the freeway, and Toll Brothers is on the east, but it's still growing. So it's hard to say. Will it be adequate? Is it too much? Their build out is many phases. I wrote it down. So I wouldn't deny it based on the density at this point. I just question if it's the right time. So that's what I'm struggling with right now.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Smith.
I tend to agree with you. It's the fact that this is an annexation. I think I might fall slightly on the different side of the coin. I think I fear Heath may have me figured out a little bit of projects that give me heartburn, but I think I fall kind of on the side of approving. It really is that the timing and the access to local amenities like regional parks and retail. I'm a big fan of transit-oriented development. I am a fan of density along transit corridors. I think there have even been some applications they've brought forward that I've critiqued for maybe not being dense enough for being on a transit corridor. It's pushing. There are a couple of things that are pushing kind of the limits of where I'm okay with, but I don't know that I would, if the rest of the commission were, intent on, continuing or voting it down, I wouldn't necessarily fight that, but I think I still lean on the side of approval, if that makes sense.
Okay. Commissioner Pearl?
Madam Chair. Um, The only thing that gives me a little bit of, I don't know if the word, I don't know if comfort is the right word, but just that it's going to take about 10 to 12 years to build it out. And so this whole area could look really different at that time. And my hope is that there would be commercial that would come in or some sort of retail type of access. There's many projects being proposed in this area right now. I think we have a couple more. We have one or two more tonight alone. And so it is, it's a lot to think about the fact that we could have 1,000 rooftops going out there in the next few, well, probably 5 to 10 years. My primary concern is that we've had a lot of applications where folks are talking about the traffic on McMillan. And you mentioned that 10 Mile being the area where these folks would visit for, their shopping and services. And I just have a lot of concern about McMillan in general. However, the applicant has no control over that. And I'm sure the applicant would appreciate if ACHD would improve that area. I'm pretty sure ACHD has no plans to expand McMillan, to widen it at all in that area anytime in the future. There's just geographic limitations. So as far as the project itself, I think it's mostly well done. There's been a lot of thought put into the green space and into the amenities, which is very much needed since there really isn't anything else out there. And I hope that every applicant who comes out in this area does something similar until the city can expand out that way many years from now.
I think it's hard because this is one of the first, right? I mean, on the east side of Highway 16, in the Fields Division, and we're only going to keep talking about it as we go further. Commissioner Stoll, do you want to comment anything?
Okay, sorry. So my main concern is with the timing with State Highway 16 being opened up. Although 2026, 2027 is stated, and watching similar projects, things don't always happen as quickly as we'd like. But there does seem to be some limitations on that as far as when they would, how much they can build and add in there. And the size of the project, it is going to take a long time. The other part is still related to State Highway 16, and is the proximity of the project to State Highway 16. But I'm sure you've done your due diligence on whether folks are going to want to move there, and that's not in my place on that. So I lean towards approval.
I do know that McMillan is not an access point to Highway 16. So your choices are to go around down to Chinden or come up to Ustick. So even if you live at that corner, you cannot access the freeway from that end. You're going to have to go north or south, one way or another. And I live in that impact area, so I'm part of that world every day, and it's going to flow. And I like the idea of residential, being here. It's up to them to sell their product to people who want to be that close to a freeway in their backyard, but that's not. So, okay. So with that in mind, After considering all staff and applicant and public testimony, I move to approve file number H 2025-0002 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 5th. And the applicant continued to work with ACHD in the city of Meridian for access streets, because right now it's preliminary.
Madam Chair, just to clarify, if you're approving, would you approve with the changes to the conditions as proposed on the screen? There's are 8 conditions that we as staff have worked with the applicant since the publication of the staff report. So we would ask that you adopt these tonight. And in regards to condition 2C, that the applicant work with ACHD and the city prior to city council on those substreets.
All right, let me modify. As presented in the staff report, including the conditions as presented in tonight's meeting.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and second to approve Rockwell Green subdivision, including new conditions presented by staff. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I want to apologize. Can we clarify your motion was to recommend approval to city council?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Commissioners, are we still good to keep going? Okay. Give me a second here to get my notes back together because I went out of order. Okay, item number 8 is Spring Day subdivision, item number 2024-0069 for annexation and preliminary plat located on the north side of West Ustick Road, a quarter-mile west of Black Cat. And we will begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. As you mentioned, the next applications before you tonight are a request for annexation and zoning and a preliminary plat. This site consists of 40.84 acres of land. It's zoned RUT in Ada County, and it's located approximately a quarter-mile west of North Black Cat Road on the north side of West Ustick Road. The comprehensive plan future land use map designation is mostly medium-density residential, which calls for 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre, and that consists of 36.6 acres of the site, and another 1.8 acres is designated for office uses. The applicant is requesting, oh, excuse me, I'm not sharing my presentation. Give me just a moment here. Alrighty, there we go. Sorry about that. The applicant is requesting annexation of 40.84 acres of land with an R8 zoning district for the development of 172 single-family residential homes at a gross density of 4.43 units per acre, which is consistent with the with the density desired of 3 to 8 units per acre in the medium-density residential designation. Although a portion of this property is designated for office uses, no office uses are proposed due to the location of the collector street through the property, which after right-of-way dedication only leaves about 0.65 of an acre, which the applicant states isn't large enough to develop as such. There are mixed-use designated properties directly to the south that could accommodate some of the office uses planned for this area. The Wardle out parcel at the southwest corner of the site will likely be converted to or redeveloped with an office use in the future. For these reasons, and because future land use map designations are not parcel specific, the applicant requests the adjacent abutting medium density residential designation apply to the office designated portion of the site. At the request of staff, the annexation boundary includes the adjacent 2.26 acre property to the east owned by the Bureau of Reclamation where the 8-mile lateral lies. The preliminary plat does not include that property. A preliminary plat is proposed as shown, consisting of 172 buildable lots and 20 common lots on 38.56 acres of land in the R8 zoning district. The average residential lot size for the proposed development is 5,546 square feet with a minimum lot size of 4,600 square feet and a maximum lot size of 9,317 square feet. A phasing plan was submitted, as shown there on the plat, that depicts 6 phases of development. Access is proposed via one collector street connection to Ustick Road at the southwest corner of the site, which stubs to the northern property line for future extension in accord with the master street map. A stub street is proposed to the west for future extension and interconnectivity. An emergency-only access is proposed on the eastern portion of the site via Ustick Road. A 35-foot wide street buffer is required along Ustick Road, designated as an entryway corridor. A 20-foot wide street buffer is required along the collector street, landscaped in accord with UDC standards. Open space and site amenities are proposed in excess of the minimum requirements. A minimum of 5.78 acres or 15% is required. 8.5 acres or 22.04% is proposed. A minimum of 8 site amenity points are required. A total of 29 points are provided as follows from each of the required categories. The quality of life, the applicant is proposing a picnic area on a site of 5,000 square feet or greater in size, a dog park, and 2 dog waste stations. From the recreation activity area category, 2 paved sports courts are proposed, a swimming pool, and a swimming pool changing facilities and restrooms. From the pedestrian or bicycle circulation system category, multi-use pathways are proposed, and that is along the east and northern boundaries of the site adjacent to the 8-mile lateral. And lastly, multimodal category, the applicant is proposing enclosed bicycle storage. A variety of conceptual building elevations were submitted. There's quite a few of them, so I'll just kind of scroll through them here. And they represent the quality of future homes planned in this development. The final design of single-family attached units are required to comply with the design standards listed in the Architectural Standards Manual. Single-family detached units are exempt from design standards. Water service is available to this site. Sewer service is not available and will need to be extended from its current location north of West Ustick Road and North McDermott Road, approximately 1.1 miles to the site. Approval of the subdivision's sewer system is contingent upon the submittal and approval of plans to serve the proposed development. While the extension of sewer infrastructure in this area is included in a city project scheduled for 2028, the developer is seeking to partner with the city to accelerate the timeline, contingent upon securing entitlements for the property. Because the city does not support annexing and entitling property for development without a timely plan to extend municipal services, staff recommends that approval of the project be contingent upon both the city's and the developer's mutual intent to enter into a cooperative agreement to extend sewer service to the property ahead of the city's scheduled infrastructure project. This agreement should be executed within 6 months of the approval of the findings for this application and prior to the adoption of the annexation ordinance, which would formally incorporate the property into the city. In the absence of such an agreement, the property would not be annexed. Several letters of testimony have been received on this application from the public, and they are included in the public record. Staff is recommending approval with the requirement of a development agreement, including a provision, as previously noted, that the applicant enter into a cooperative agreement with the city within 6 months to extend sewer service to the property, or the property will not be annexed. Staff will stand for any questions.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Becky McKay with Engineering Solutions, business address 1029 North Rosario, Meridian. I'm representing Toll Southwest LLC and MFRE River Jordan Mink Ranch North SLCC on the application. It's kind of a tongue twister. We have applications before you this evening for annexation and rezone, preliminary plat, and a development agreement for Spring Day subdivision. The property is located, as Sonia indicated, north of Ustick and just east of McDermott Road. The property consists of two parcels. The primary parcel is approximately 36.67 acres. And then there's a second parcel that's 1.89 acres that is currently owned by Morris and Dixie Rambo Trust. All over here. Oops. So as you can see, this is an aerial overview of the property. Gotta find my cursor. There I am. So the property boundary comes down like this. This is an out parcel here that's owned by the Wardle family. And then the boundary for the subdivision, the annexation comes around like this. To give you a little bit of history of the property, the parent parcel was 40 acres. And in Ada County, under the D1 zone, they allowed for a one-time split of the property. So this parcel was legally split off under Ada County. And then subsequently in 1979, or no, later than 1979, sorry, this parcel was split off. This particular division was an illegal division of the property. So in meeting with the staff on our pre-application conference, they indicated to us that this parcel needed to be included in our annexation and part of our preliminary plat to legalize this parcel, which is owned by the Rambo Trust. The 8-mile lateral comes across Ustick, and then it goes up our east boundary and then along our north boundary. What's before you this evening is obviously an annexation and rezone from rural urban transition to R8, which is medium density residential. We propose 172 residential lots and 20 common lots. To the east of us is Birchstone Creek subdivision located here. And then this vacant parcel that you see here is owned by West Ada School District for a future elementary school site. South of us is Trisha's Way, or Trisha's subdivision, sorry, and Jaden Village. So obviously this, this property is a continuation of the existing growth that is in this area. Just south of us is the Linder Road Church. They own this parcel, and that is Zone CC. And then this parcel here to the south is owned by Endurance Holdings and is anticipated and designated for multifamily. Switch over. Your comprehensive plan has this designated as primarily medium density residential of a density of 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre. It encourages a variety of attached, detached, single-family dwellings. And then there's a small sliver of office in your comprehensive plan that comes across. It's basically coming across to the proposed Durango subdivision that's located on our western boundary. And then it comes across the parcel owned by the Wardles, and just a little bit of it comes in and encroaches into our development. So what we're asking for this evening is that the property be considered under the medium density residential designation, because what designation of office is on this parcel is minimal. And it's just really not viable for us to try to incorporate something that small. We have been coordinating with the Durango subdivision over here on our west boundary. And let me scroll here. So in the ACHD Master Street Plan, Ustick Road obviously is designated as a principal arterial. It is intended as a 5-lane arterial. They will be rebuilding it to the 5-lane as designating the Master Street Plan in 2027. And then we are at the mid-mile. There is a mid-mile collector designated on the Master Street Plan. It comes up from Ustick and then goes up to our northern boundary. Then there is an Apple Valley subdivision that is located just north of us, and they have unopened right-of-way along their eastern boundary. And then when I did Oak South, we brought a collector from McMillan, and we brought that collector across 5 Mile Creek, and then it comes in through Aegean Estates, and it will link into what is called the Quinzer property, which there are no development plans at this time, that is due north of this project. A little technical difficulty. Must not want to scroll, Sonia. Frozen. As you can see, this is the parcel owned by the Wardles. We are required to provide them access from our collector roadway of Avellino. And then we have an open space here to the north, to the Durango subdivision. We've coordinated with them, so they will connect to our collector roadway and have an extension here. We do have an emergency vehicle access that would be temporary out to Ustick, but depending on obviously the schedule of the subdivision to the west, then we may not need that emergency vehicle access. We have 2 common drives within the development. There's one located here in the northwest corner, one located in the southeast corner. Staff has indicated in their staff report that we have 4 lots on one side of this common drive, which the ordinance only allows you to have a maximum of 3 on one side. However, the staff wants us to extend our roadway to the east and connect to a stub street that is in the adjoining subdivision. So we did have a pedestrian pathway, a common lot, then our common drive. So it is our intent to extend this roadway across and over and connect to that stub street to the east. With the 8 Mile lateral, I've worked with Greg Curtis at Nampa Meridian Irrigation District. He has jurisdiction over that, even though on the assessor map it says Bureau of Reclamation. It's been turned over to Nampa Meridian. Greg has asked us to enter into a license agreement with the district that we will provide 36-inch RCP pipe, and then the 8 Mile lateral all along our east boundary and north boundary will be piped during the non-irrigation season, and Nampa Meridian will install the pipe and build the boxes if we supply the materials. According to Greg, he thinks it, for safety purposes, he does not want an open lateral next to a future elementary. And they have a lot of issues when we have a lateral backing up to our lots. So Sonia indicated the property is 38.56 acres. We have 172 residential lots, 132 detached single family. Those lot sizes range from 4950 to 9126. We do have an average lot size of 5475. To provide some diversity within the project, we have 40 duet lots, 20 are alley load, 20 are front load. They range in size from 4,400 square feet to 7,653. with an average lot size of 4846. Our overall gross density is 4.46, and as indicated with the medium density designation on the comprehensive plan land use map, it recommends 3 to 8. So we are not pushing that envelope like the project that was before us. We have 20 lots, or 20 common lots. Of those 20 common lots, we have 8.16 acres of open space, which is basically 21.16%, which far exceeds that requirement within the code. That does include the local street buffers, which are 8 feet in width. We will be having a swimming pool facility with parking, 2 sports courts, 2 pickleball courts, picnic shelter. We will have a 14-foot multi-use pathway along the piped 8-mile lateral on the north and the east boundaries, along with extensive internal pedestrian pathways that link the project from north to south and east to west. This kind of shows you the landscape plan. You can see here is a corridor where that pathway is going north to south and then connecting to the 14-foot multi-use pathway that's along the 8-mile lateral. That will be a multi-use pathway because it will be used for maintenance of the 8-mile lateral for Nampa Meridian Irrigation District, but will also be available for pedestrians and bicycle traffic. Along Avellino, the collector, we are required to do 10-foot sidewalks detached both sides. So it will be what they call an MUP under Ada County Highway District with a 26-foot travel way. This kind of shows you the southern area. We do have some alley load lots. So with our attached product, we have a combination of 20 alley load and we have a combination of 20 front load. Those are right here along that U-stick corridor. And as you can see, we have pathways, micropaths that are coming to the south, linking up to the central amenity that is located there. Oh, I thought that was me echoing. This kind of gives you an idea of the duets. We do not have any townhomes in here. We have detached single-family dwellings and then the alley load and front load duets. Here you see the alley load duets. Here you see an example of the front load duets. These are examples. Obviously, when the project gets rolling, you know, new styles come forward and so forth. So these obviously are subject to change, but as far as the quality of the homes, they will be consistent with the elevations that I'm providing you. Here is alley load and then front load product. The single family dwellings, we have like the Briar collection, kind of shows you on the smaller lots. They're single story with 2-car garages. Then we do have some 2-story with 2-car garages, bonus rooms. And then on some of the wider lots, we may have like a 3-car garage. This gives you a little better perspective. Obviously, we're incorporating the modulation that's required under the architectural standards, different types of masonry and siding to give it some diversity and articulation so that the curb appeal of the homes meets the expectations of the architectural standards of Meridian. Here's the Juniper collection. They have the farmhouse style. They have more modern styles. So we're looking to have a variety of homes in here that obviously will complement this area. The lots in here, we have 45 to 55 foot wide lots. Our depths range from 110 to 115. So that kind of gives a little bit of diversity. The duet lots, they're on the alleys. The alleys will be 20 feet in width. They will be ACHD alleys. We have 40-foot wide lots in the duets and then 110 to 117 feet. So we do compensate for the narrower width with a little bit more depth. Whoa. Let me wrap quick. So water, a 12-inch water main isn't available on U Stick Road. Are you beeping me? I'm kidding. So a 12-inch water main is in U Stick Road. The sewer is north of us in McDermott. It will require an extension of a 30-inch sewer trunk for approximately 1 mile. We have been working with the Public Works Department on obviously making that happen and entering into a cooperative agreement. We have read the staff report. We are in agreement with all conditions of approval, and I'll stand for questions.
I do have a couple of questions. So you mentioned directly to the east of this project is West Ada School District.
Yes, ma'am.
And so your private street at the southeast corner right now is a private drive, but you're going to turn that into a collector,
We'll turn that into a public street.
a public street.
So it will be a local public street.
Okay, and then how far will it go all the way to the end? And the only reason I ask this, because I remember when Oahe Storm was being built, and there's a developer who has property on the other side, there was a big contention of who was responsible for creating the street to the school district. And the school district argued that, we want the money for the school, we don't, we want the developers to help provide some of the infrastructure. So the road that you're going to put in is going to go up to the outside of the school boundary area, correct?
Correct. So right now, if you look at this aerial map, there is an existing local street that comes through that Birchstone subdivision, and then they have a temporary cul-de-sac. Then the school boundary is right here. So what staff has asked us is to eliminate the common drive, eliminate the ped path and the common lot, and take a local street, come across that Nampa Meridian lot where they're going to pipe the 8-mile lateral and make a connection here. Then that would provide for a secondary access for that school, so they're not limited to one sole access to U Stick Road. And it would not be at the expense of West Ada School District.
Okay. For full disclosure, I live to the west of this, about a half-mile down. I have no financial interest in this property. I will tell you that the Armfield family was the homesteaders. They were a pretty scrappy bunch, so it doesn't surprise me that they illegally divided their property to have them all live at the same place. So, I have some affinity for those old houses because they are historic houses. They've been there since probably the early 1900s. But I understand they're just going to be removed completely.
Madam Chairman, there are 2 homes on this Rambo Trust property. One home was built in 1900, you are correct. 2-story home. The other home was built, I don't know, 1950. It is their intent to retain this parcel and those homes. And that is the very last phase.
Okay, so right now, the 2 homes that are on that parcel remain.
They will remain until such time as the Rambo Trust agrees to be platted as our last phase. So everything is kind of, we have our own independent phasing, and then we have, obviously, they have to be platted at some point in time.
Right.
If they choose, right now, we have multiple lots showing how it would redevelop, but obviously they could choose to just be platted as 2 lots with a road on their north boundary if they end up deciding, let's just keep it the way it is and retain the home.
Okay, thank you. One final question, and I'll let the commissioners talk since I'm being kind of stingy here. Why now, when there's no sewer infrastructure till 2028?
So that's a good question. So in the city's sewer master plan. They have that in, to be budgeted for in 2028. However, the problem is with ACHD rebuilding U-Stick from Black Cat to the McDermott bypass in 2027, then that's going to shut out the ability to extend sewer down U-Stick.
Becky, will you pull the microphone to you? Thanks.
So in our conversations with the city engineer, Warren Stewart, the city typically does not participate in the extensions of these trunks. They are at the developer's expense, and the city may have them in their master plan where they're going to build them at a specific time. The city has determined that it is in the city's best interest for a cooperative agreement between the developer and the city of Meridian to get it extended prior to 2028 and get it pulled down McDermott and then east in U-Stick before U-Stick is built as 5 lanes. Because obviously there's nothing worse than a brand new 5-lane principal arterial being torn up a year later. And this sewer is deep. It's a 30-inch, it's a large sewer coming down McDermott. It's a 10-inch coming down U-Stick. So by approving this project, obviously it's a continuation of existing growth. We're not jumping out into no man's land. We're willing to accept the fact that we will participate in this sewer, which is very expensive. My clients have already had JUB engineers who do the Meridian master plan, design this sewer. So the sewer is already designed from where it is south of 5 Mile Creek and then all the way to the subject property.
All right, one more. I need a visual. Okay, so you got U-Stick, you got the bypass, McDermott bypass, and just west of the bypass, ITD is doing Highway 16. So is your sewer going to come down McDermott bypass? Because otherwise, you're going to be tearing up everything that ITD is putting in right now for the entry of Highway 16.
Madam Chairman, the sewer in the master plan is not planned to come down the bypass. It is planned to come down McDermott.
Old McDermott Road?
Yes, Old McDermott Road.
Okay, so with that in mind, again, ITD, right to the west of your property, as of today, they are putting a road in, concrete, I don't know if it's asphalt or concrete, they just, all I hear is machines back and forth as the entryway to Highway 16. So what you're telling me is that you're gonna rip all that up to be able to put the sewer back in?
So, Madam Chairman, what Warren Stewart contacted the ITD project engineer asking if we could go in because they'll be doing work at the intersection of U-Stick
Right.
and McDermott, and asked the ITD if the city or us could put in a manhole and get the sewer in there before they pave over it. And ITD said no.
Yeah, because they're gonna do it in the
They're
next
not,
60 days.
they're not being cooperative.
Okay.
They're not being cooperative, even though the city engineer asked them, can we get this in now? We have construction plans. These construction plans were approved years ago. And then they were redone based on new conditions, and they were told no. So we are working with, obviously, it is our intent to try to get utilities in prior to improvements, but in some instances, it's impossible.
Okay.
And,
You're willing to take on those expenses?
and that would be a burden we would have to bear. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners, do you have any other questions for Becky? this point before we take public testimony? All right, thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to testify?
Madam Chair, we do. Sean Wardle.
Hi, Sean, if you can state your name and address for the record, that would be great.
Thank you. Sean Wardle, 2239 East Griner Street, Meridian, Idaho, here representing John and Cheryl Wardle that live at 5600 West Ustick Road. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Appreciate your time tonight. I'm here to talk about a couple things. The first of which is the mid-block node. So in Meridian's comprehensive plan, we've got office on the north and we've got intended commercial on the south, up and down Ustick Road, where we see a couple examples of that. And so one of the reasons for that is there was always planned within ACHD's plan a light at the mid-block to make those uses viable. And I saw in the staff report that there was that if a light would come here at the mid-block collector, that it would somehow conflict with the light at McDermott Road. So if you wouldn't mind having staff address that particular issue, whether there would be a light here or not. The applicant talks about access to the Wardle parcel. We would like to know what kind of mechanism that would be, whether it's a access agreement. Obviously, the parcel will redevelop and we understand that, but would like to understand a little bit more of that. Does that come with the city's to and through utility policy, or what is the mechanism there? So if they could address that. And then if you look at the aerial here, I would like to point out that there are two actual accesses to Ustick Road from the Wardle parcel. There's an access directly which would border the new proposed collector road. Then there's a driveway access, and then to the west there's a neighboring access. And so there will be, if approved, there will be four accesses to Ustick Road. And so one of the questions there is currently Ustick is 50 miles an hour at that particular area. And so one of my questions would be, could there be a recommendation to the Traffic Safety Commission to reduce that as things come along? We understand also that will serve as essentially an on-ramp to Highway 16. So I didn't see a traffic impact study within the staff report, so I don't know if I missed that, but that's a question for us as well. And then finally, the last kind of issue is with the office designation and the removal of that from this particular application, are the rest of the parcels viable as an office use? I can tell you that as a commercial real estate broker, that's one of the questions that I ask is, do we have enough area to put good uses that could serve really the neighborhood? That's what it's intended to do, is serve the neighborhood and potentially professional office that services the elementary school, dentists, orthodontists, optometrists, things like that. So I appreciate your time, and I would stand for any questions.
Okay, I think we will answer your questions when the applicant comes back forward.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, Tom Robinson.
What was the name?
Tom Robinson.
Tom Robinson? No, you're good? Oh, the next one. Okay. All right, we'll put your name on the list.
That's everyone on this hearing.
Anybody else in chambers would like to comment on this application? Becky, would you like to come back and maybe answer some of Mr. Wardle's questions?
Madam Chair, members of the commission. So what Ada County Highway District had us do is, as you can see in this preliminary plat, we have a minimum 20-foot buffer along this western edge. That's required by the Meridian ordinance, the UDC. ACHD has said, you'll get a license agreement from us, you landscape it, you maintain it, but the right-of-way will go clear to the Wardle parcel. So they will have the ability to access the collector based on whatever configuration they have for redevelopment of that residential parcel. The Durango property to the east, they have commercial along here, but they do have residential right on the western boundary of the Wardles. My recommendation to the Meridian staff was that they have some interconnectivity to the Wardle parcel to basically create a continuation of that neighborhood commercial office corridor along U-Stick, giving them options. And then it just makes sense if somebody stops at the dentist office, then they may go over to the sandwich shop that may be on the Wardle property. So that would be my recommendation. That application has just been submitted to the city of Meridian. I do have a copy of it. So obviously they will comment on that. Yes. Yes, so Ada County Highway District made it very clear that the traffic signal will be at the McDermott U-Stick bypass. It's already been installed
Right.
and is operational. That will be the signal. So they did not want another signal at this location. And that's why they asked me to offset my north and my south collector so that we didn't exceed the threshold requiring a signal.
Okay. In having conversations with ACHD on U-Stick, he told me, and you'll have to verify this, but they were gonna change U-Stick roads miles per hour to 35 throughout Ada County, all of it. So the 50-mile-an-hour speed is gonna go away. And he said he can't predict what Canyon County is gonna do, but Ada County ACHD is gonna make U-Stick Road throughout the entire valley 35 miles an hour.
Correct. So so they're going from 10 Mile to Black Cat in 2026. Then they're going from Black Cat to McDermott in 2027. And then the city of Nampa is going to go 5 lanes on U-Stick from a Waihe storm all the way to the Phyllis Canal. So that's going to be a principal arterial with residential development. So I would anticipate when it transitions to that urban designation, the speed limit will be dropped significantly. Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any other questions for Becky?
I'm not sure if this question is for Becky, Madam Chair, but can you talk to me about the timing of the cooperative agreement being tied to a recommendation for annexation as opposed to just entering into a cooperative agreement for sewer services beforehand? Was that a requirement, something I should ask the city, or is that something you wanted?
Madam Chairman, Commissioner Stoll, that was a requirement of the city.
Yeah.
That, based on adoption of the findings by the city council for annexation and rezone, we have 6 months to enter into that cooperative agreement to extend the sewer. So they're basically putting in a little fail-safe if my clients decide, gee whiz, we don't want to extend that sewer for a mile, then the property will not be annexed and zoned. So it is a contingent that my clients enter into that cooperative agreement that they will extend that sewer main within a specific timeline.
But is there a reason why you wouldn't enter into the agreement before this request today?
The agreement's already been drafted. The city attorney has already reviewed it. And the draft has been given to my clients. and they are reviewing it now. So they are trying to get that executed at this time. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say it's a perfect scenario where you go to planning and zoning, you go to city council, you gain your entitlements. What is your, and you get your agreement to construct your sewer, what is your timeline to have construction happening, knowing that ACHD plans on doing their road work in 2027?
Correct.
ITD is doing their road work now. Where do you kind of fit in? Because it'll be a disruption for Ustick Road again or more. You know, and I know that it has to, the lateral stuff has to work around the irrigation season, but the sewer does not.
So, Madam Chair, Ada County Highway District indicated that they did not want us to make any improvements to U-Stick, with the exception of the 10-foot detached sidewalk. And instead, they wanted us to road truss for $200,300. And that would be what we would be required if we were to widen 17 feet from center line. And then build a shoulder along our entire frontage. So we will be participating, obviously financially, in that improvement. In my conversations with my client, as far as timing, we did not, you know, the way things are now, by the time you get through entitlements, here we are 2025, and then you get your construction plans approved. They would not allow us to get our on-site construction plans approved until the off-site construction plans are approved. And obviously that work is underway. I don't believe, and my clients do not believe, that we'd have any homes going up until after that those U-Stick improvements were completed.
I understand.
It just takes us usually a couple years, especially if we have offsites.
Right. Commissioners, do we have any other questions for Becky? Okay, thank you very much. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to close the public hearing for Spring Day subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, I'm very familiar because I'm living this. So, and I chose to stay. And so, you know, I accept the beeping on a consistent basis. ACHD has approached us to put a storm drain in. So I've been talking with them as well. And, you know, everything she said is what they told me, that the improvements are in 2027. I'm still very surprised that you want to move the, you know, and get engaged with moving the infrastructure for the sewer system. But after you explained that you want to do it before all the roadway work is done as opposed to doing it again and again, that makes more sense to me. But 1.1 mile, that's a long way. So, but you're accepting financial responsibility to do that. So it's not for me to say. I'm glad the historic homes are staying for at least for now. I did not know AC or West Ada School District had a space there. Whether they choose to build there or not is yet to be seen. But new schools are always welcome in our community. And overall, I think the design, you know, will fit the medium density for that north site of Ustick.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I agree. This traffic flow or this internal flow of the development. I couldn't quite explain it if you asked me to, but I really like the design. It feels kind of, you know, natural, cohesive, and it's good. And I think the sewer concerns, I think there's still some hint of a you know, a question mark there, but I think given that it's a contingent, you know, the annexation is contingent. On that, I think I'm kind of operating under the assumption, you know, treating this as if it is being built, and if it's not, well, that's that's on the developer. And so I'm comfortable with this and I think I'm good to go on it.
Okay. You want me to hog all the motions tonight? Or you want
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I can make a motion.
Commissioner Smith?
Want to make sure this is the correct one. This is day. Madam Chair, after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to recommend approval to the City Council of file number H-2024-0069 as presented in the staff report.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve Spring Day subdivision as presented in the staff report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And Mr. Wardle, if you have any more questions, please see Becky and she'll be able to answer those questions for you. All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break just to kind of wet our whistle and take a bathroom break. So we will start again a little bit after 8 p.m. and we will do Dayspring. So thank you very much. Okay, if we can start getting ready to continue our meeting, please. Thank you for your patience. We've been talking for the last 2 hours, so it was nice just to take a little bit of a break. We have one more item on the agenda, which is Day Spring subdivision, item number 2024-0070 for annexation preliminary plat on the south side of Ustick, a 1/4 mile east of McDermott Bypass Road. And Sonia, we will start with the staff report when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next application before you is a request for annexation and zoning and a preliminary plat. This site consists of 143.09 acres of land. It's owned RUT in Ada County, and it's located on the south side of West Ustick Road, 1/4 mile east of North McDermott Road. And this is just kind of kitty cornered to the previous project, which is right here. So the comprehensive plan future land use map designation is mixed use community on 22.27 acres of land on the northeastern portion of the property. As you can see here on this center map, the brown area is the mixed use community designated area, and medium density residential, 120.82 acres on the southwestern portion of the site, the yellow area. A future school site is also designated along the eastern boundary of the site. The applicant is requesting annexation of 143.09 acres of land with R4 zoning, which consists of 32.64 acres, R8 zoning, which consists of 77.76 acres, TNR zoning, which consists of 25.29 acres, and CN zoning, which consists of 7.4 acres. For the development of 517 residential dwelling units consisting of a mix of single-family residential detached homes and townhomes and commercial uses. The proposed mix of uses and densities are consistent with that desired in the underlying future land use map designations for the site. West Ada School District did submit comments stating a school is not needed in the area designated for such on the future land use map. A preliminary plat is proposed as shown, consisting of 531 building lots, which consist of 517 residential and 14 commercial lots, and 78 common lots on 143.09 acres of land in the R4, R8, TNR, and CN zoning districts. The average residential lot size for the proposed development is 6,544 square feet, with a minimum lot size of 1,800 square feet, and a maximum lot size of 20,064 square feet. The proposed commercial lots have an average size of 14,375 square feet. A phasing plan was submitted that shows 13 phases of development as shown on the preliminary plat before you. Staff is recommending a change to the phasing plan to include the extension of West McCurtry Street to the west boundary of the site with phase 1 for connection to the McDermott Road bypass. And that is this road right up here that backs the commercial property. An updated phasing plan should be submitted prior to the city council hearing. Access is proposed via one collector street at the northeast corner of the site from West Ustick Road, which extends to the south and west boundaries of the site in accord with the master street map. 4 existing stub streets at the eastern boundary of the property will also provide access and be extended with development. Stub streets are proposed to adjacent parcels to the east, west, and south for future extension and interconnectivity, as shown on the plat. Ada County Highway District has required an additional stub street to the south, which staff agrees is necessary for future interconnectivity. A backage road is proposed along West Ustick Road, which will provide a connection between the entry road and the McDermott Road bypass and provide access to the commercial lots. The McDermott Road bypass has been constructed adjacent to this site to the west and is currently under the jurisdiction of Idaho Transportation Department, but is anticipated to be transferred to Ada County Highway District in the future. Staff recommends West McCurtry Street is extended off-site to the west and connects to the McDermott Road bypass with approval from ITD. If approval cannot be obtained from ITD, the street should be extended once under the jurisdiction of ACHD. A 35-foot wide street buffer is required along Ustick Road, designated as an entryway corridor. 20-foot wide street buffers are required along collector streets, landscaped in accord with UDC standards. Qualified open space and site amenities are proposed in excess of the minimum standards. A minimum of 19.38 acres is required. 31.72 acres, or 22.9% of the site, is proposed. A minimum of 29 site amenity points are required. A total of 55 points are provided as follows. From the quality of life category, a picnic area on a site 5,000 square feet or greater in size is proposed, along with a dog park and 6 dog waste stations. From the recreation activity area category, 2 paved sports courts for pickleball are proposed, along with 2 swimming pools and changing facilities and restrooms at the swimming pool facilities. From the pedestrian or bicycle circulation system category are multi-use pathways. And from the multimodal is 2 enclosed bicycle storage areas at the pool house. A variety of conceptual building elevations are proposed. And similar to the last application, there are quite a few of them, so I'll just scroll through them while I'm talking. They do represent the quality of future homes planned in this development. Conceptual elevations and/or design standards should be submitted for the townhome and commercial structures prior to the city council hearing that demonstrate a cohesive design theme for the entire development consistent with the comprehensive plan for mixed-use designated areas. Water service is available at the site. Sewer service is not available, similar to the last project, and will need to be extended from its current location north of West Ustick Road in North McDermott Road, approximately 0.8 miles to the site. Approval of the subdivision sewer system is contingent upon the submittal and approval of plans to serve the proposed development. While the extension of sewer infrastructure in this area is included in a city project scheduled for 2028, the developer is seeking to partner with the city to accelerate the timeline contingent upon securing entitlements for the property. Because the city does not support annexing and entitling property for development without a timely plan to extend municipal services, staff recommends that approval of the project be contingent upon both the city's and developers' mutual intent to enter into a cooperative agreement to extend sewer service to the property ahead of the city's scheduled infrastructure project. This agreement should be executed within 6 months of the approval of the findings and prior to the adoption of the annexation ordinance, which would formally incorporate the property into the city. In the absence of such an agreement, the property will not be annexed. Several letters of public testimony have been received on this application, and they are included in the public record. Staff is recommending approval with the requirement of a development agreement, including a provision, as previously noted, that the applicant enter into a cooperative agreement with the city within 6 months to extend sewer service to the property, or the property will not be annexed. Staff will stand for any questions.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Becky McKay, Engineering Solutions, business address 1029 North Rosario in Meridian. You're getting a double dose of me tonight. I'm sorry. I'm here representing Toll Southwest LLC and MFRE River Jordan Mink Ranch North SLCC. We're applying for annexation rezone, preliminary plat, and a development agreement for the Dayspring development. This property is located obviously east of North McDermott, south of Ustick, consists of approximately 143 acres. So you can see the property located right here. So on our western boundary is the McDermott bypass, which then kind of drifts away. Our property line comes down here and then comes across and down to the south over, and then adjoins these existing subdivisions that are located here. The Sky Pilot drain under Nampa Meridian Irrigation District runs through here, right at our northeast corner. So in our site planning, one of the things that we had to be cognizant of was making sure that our public street was not over the top of the Sky Pilot drain, which Nampa Meridian Irrigation District said they would not allow. The distance between our collector roadway, which is a mid-mile collector, as shown on the master ACHD master street map, we're about 913 feet to the east of that. That was the location that ACHD asked us to place that collector roadway. The Safford lateral comes in the property right here, runs up this boundary over and goes due west. That is also under Nampa Meridian Irrigation District. Greg Curtis asked the same type of treatment of that facility, that we provide the 30-inch RCP pipe, and then the irrigation district would install it during the non-irrigation season. We're asking for multiple zoning designations on this property, obviously due to the size and the different comprehensive plan designations. We're asking for R4 medium low density residential, R8 medium density residential, TNR, which is traditional neighborhood residential, and then CN, which is neighborhood commercial. We have 517 proposed residential lots, 14 commercial lots, 6 common lots, and 6 common drives and 72 common lots. On the subject property, there are 6 different parcels. We have 4 different homes. 2 are up at U-Stick. 1 is toward the midsection and 1 is toward the south. All dwellings and accessory structures will be eliminated, removed with development of this property. As far as the existing developments that adjoin us, we have to the east, we have Tricia's Crossing, which is R4. We have Turnberry number 2, which is R8 and R4. And then kitty corner to us here on our southeast corner, that is Burlingame subdivision, which is R8. This triangular parcel here is owned by Endurance Holdings. It's anticipated that that will be a multifamily development. I have been coordinating with Endurance Holdings on our Stubb Street locations and as far as our park and ride and dog park that would adjoin them. There's a total of 6 parcels within this particular development. And under your comprehensive plan, a majority of the property is medium density residential, the 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre. But it also has mixed use community. So this is right out of your future land use map. You can kind of see the first exhibit. It's kind of a half moon shape. And then you can see what our proposed land uses are there on the right-hand side. So we had multiple meetings with the staff, provided them different concepts, took their recommendations on what they wanted to see. And so they basically said, you know, it'd be nice if, you know, you had some integration of that neighborhood commercial into your development. So we have Dayspring Way, which is our mid-mile collector that comes down here. We're providing access to the east to the future apartments. We have a park and ride. We have a pathway and a dog park. And since that is kind of a triangular parcel, we anticipated that they would have like open space area that would adjoin us. And so it could be kind of integrated into ours, and they would have pathways that would go over to our transit area. Along the U-Stick corridor, since that's a principal arterial, the city staff wanted to see some type of neighborhood commercial. We do not have any direct lot access for the commercial uses to U-Stick Road. We have this backage road here, which is called McMurtry. And it will run from our collector over to the McDermott bypass. So it will obviously have access and visibility from the bypass and access to a signalized intersection at this location. Then we kind of, on the south side, we have a couple of office or neighborhood commercial. We have a plaza area with picnic area. We also have a plaza area up on U-Stick with a 10-foot detached walk. And then we have pedestrian access that interconnects both these plazas and goes right through the center of our commercial node. Then we transition as far as our intensity of our residential. We have townhomes and we have detached single family. They are alley load, front load, and we do have some that are located on the MU. This kind of shows you the overall project that we have here. So to the south of us, we have a nursery. Sonia indicated ACHD wants another stub street to the south. So we would extend this roadway to here. So there'd be a local stub street. Our collector road under the master street map will run from our south boundary, no front on housing, all the way up to here. We teed it in to Dayspring Way to slow the traffic, and then it goes on up to U-Stick. I have trouble with this. And then the collector also goes to the west. So this will be the primary collector that will take traffic from the interior of this section. And then that collector, when the property south of us develops, it will extend all the way to Cherry Lane. Under that mixed-use community, it talks about 6 to 15 dwelling units per acre. It talks about having 3 different types of land uses. So we were cognizant of that fact, and so we did incorporate, you know, the townhomes, the alley load, the detached single-family dwellings. We have approximately about 22.27 acres in that mixed-use community, and the 120 acres or 84.44% of the project is medium-density residential. One of the criteria under that MUC was to incorporate some type of public space. We have 2.55 acres of public space. That's our public plaza, our open space, our dog park, pathways, and our park and ride lot. Then we have about 14 acres of residential, the alley load townhomes, alley load single family, and then we have about 7.5 acres of commercial, which is about 30%. So we did meet that criteria as outlined in your comprehensive plan. All commercial buildings will be neighborhood compatible. We do not have elevations for you this evening. Obviously, we'll be subject to the architectural guidelines within the ordinance that requires articulation in certain types of differing materials on the buildings, and especially along the buildings that will back up to U-Stick Road. So those buildings will be up against U-Stick Road. We do have a 35-foot buffer. We will have a 10-foot landscape. Along our collector roadway, we will have 10-foot landscape or a 10-foot sidewalk that runs all along both sides. We will also have a multi-use pathway after the Safford lateral is piped that will link all the way to the east and to the south. As indicated, we're 143 acres. This kind of gives you the breakdown. Our gross density of the project, that excludes the commercial, so it's not skewed. We are at 3.73. So obviously we are on the lower density scale based on the 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre. We have 31.72 acres of qualified open space. That's 22.91%. And we will have 2 swimming pool facilities, one in the north airport area, one in the south area. They both have parking. We'll pickleball courts, picnic shelters. We have some tot lots, playground equipment in some different pocket parks. We'll have our Valley Transit Park and Ride, our dog park, and our extensive pathway network throughout the development. This kind of shows you the landscape plan and kind of the buildings along the commercial buildings there at Ustick and then McMurtry Street. I always have a hard time saying that. Zip down to. So this kind of shows you our central amenity, what it'll look like. Obviously, it will have restrooms, changing facilities. We'll have an extensive pool. Based on the size of the development, we'll have 2 large pool facilities to accommodate the residents along with significant parking. Now I'm stuck. Tanya, I'm stuck. There it goes. This kind of gives you more of a aerial view. You can see the play equipment, the parking, and the pool facilities. That kind of gives you an idea of the quality of the pool and the amenities around it. There are the pickleball courts. This is the entrance into the southern portion of the project. As we go south, our density decreases and our lots get larger and larger. And so we made a significant effort to try to have transitional lot sizes adjacent to the existing homes that are surrounding us. This kind of gives you an aerial overview where you see the project at Ustick with the neighborhood commercial and what it would look like as it's constructed. You can see that there is solid development all along our eastern boundary with the exception of that triangular piece. There's also a proposed, I think, Meridian Park that's going to be to the southwest of us, and that's going to be a regional park. It has not been constructed. So we will obviously have the ability to, with our pathways, to interconnect as other parcels develop, joining us to the southwest to that park. This kind of gives you an elevation of what the townhomes would look like. These are the alley load type townhomes. You can see a lot of modulation, different materials. Then we have our single family alley load product. Kind of shows you what that would look like. The Juniper collection, these will be kind of on the smaller lots that are more up in the northern portion of the project. They are front load, single family, bonus rooms, two car garages, some 2-story, a variety of types of homes, you know, your craftsman style, your modern style, your farmhouse style. Then you kind of see what they call the River Bend collection. This would be on our larger lots. And they have 3-car garages, obviously significantly wider home. Then we have the Willows. I'll conclude that we have lots that will provide homes for different types of families, different lifestyles. They range from 33 feet, 55, 65, 75, 85 to 90, 94 to 120 in width. And the depths, we don't have anything that's less than 110, and some of our lots are as deep as 143. We're almost twice what your amenity points require us. I think this is a great project. We're excited. And obviously, the size of this project will help build that sewer. The project to the north.
Becky, you're out of the microphone again.
Thank you.
You're out of the microphone, I was saying.
Sorry, thought you were beeping me again.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions that I can answer?
I think we'll go with public testimony first, and we'll have you come back up. Mr. Clerk, what do we have?
Madam Chair, we have Ryan Howell.
Hi.
Madam, my name is Ryan Howell.
Uh-huh.
My address is 2203 North Montgomery Avenue here in Meridian. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about this. I was hoping that there would be El Pollo Loco for all of us today, but the question, a couple of the concerns that I have, I spent a couple of hours on your website looking at the different plat maps of this prior to the meeting. And as I looked at this, and is this the picture that's up on the screen right now, the Dayspring subdivision plan? As I was looking at this, there are the collectors that go out to U-Stick, which is fantastic. However, the other access areas, one is down to the right, about halfway through, and it comes right out at Seasons Park. All the traffic from there is going to have to go around Seasons Park. The next one that comes out, just down from there, also comes out right at Seasons Park. And they're going to have to go around Seasons Park to get out of there. Now, that comes out and it dumps out into the subdivision I live in, Turnberry, that's it.
Okay.
There are also two more access points down low that also dump into Turnberry. Now, all of that in Turnberry comes to one street, and that's Charles. Right now at rush hour time, you can't get on to Black Cat from Charles with about 120 homes in the Turnberry Crossing subdivision. We're going to add another 500 there. Now, granted, they can go up to U-Stick, but if they want to go shopping, the closest place to go shopping is Albertsons. They've got to get to either Black Cat or Cherry. If they want to go to either the junior high, which is what that area, as I understand, is still, that's where those kids would go to, they've got to go to Black Cat or Cherry. If they want to go to the closest churches, are three of them right there on Black Cat also. So all of that has got to be funneled down to one street, to Charles. And there isn't any other access through Turnberry. They can go up and go into Autumn Fair as well. But the most direct access, if you're getting to the corner of Cherry and Black Cat, is down Charles. And that's one street for all of that to be incorporated through. And guess what's right there at that street? The bus stop. That's where all those kids get on this bus.
All right.
Is my time up?
It is. Thank
Okay.
you for your
Thank
testimony.
you very much.
Madam Chair, next is Don LaFever.
My name is Don LaFever, 2523 North Tricia Way in Meridian. I sent did a little analysis of the impact statement, the transportation impact statement. And I'm not sure if anybody ever looked at that. I sent it on Monday.
We all looked at your public testimony.
Okay,
So
great.
we did see it.
Okay.
I don't have it in front of me, but we
That's
did read
fine.
it earlier.
So that sort of goes along with what he had to say.
Mhm.
It's sort of a way to mitigate all that traffic that's going to be going through there, because they have one lane going up through, I guess it's Dayspring Way, with only one turn to the left, one turn to the right. We've got 500 or 172 houses going to be up north, which are going to be coming down, which is going to crowd that. There's going to be an apartment, apparently, I didn't even know about that, unit proposed, not proposed yet, next to Dayspring. That's going to be another 500 units at least. And so all you have going north, and most of the homes in this subdivision are to the north. All you have is a one lane going up and then one over to McDermott. So and the one going north has no light. So the one on McDermott has a light, but it only has one lane turning to the left. So to me, with all those homes, it looks like it's going to be very crowded, backed up traffic. If that light goes bad and doesn't turn, it's going to be a disaster, and people are going to start going down towards through our subdivision, trying to find an easy way out. So I was sort of shocked to see how many homes are proposed for this area. I didn't realize that. So anyway, that was my whole thing about this is, if you read that, then that's great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Chair, next is Richard Munn.
I am Rick Munn, live at 5130 West Ridgeside Court. They've all touched on pretty much everything I was thinking about. It's the same thing. We got the park. There's kids dodging in and out. People don't read the signs right now, no parking. They're parked in between there on corners that are blind. There's, I could see, we've got they've got one entrance coming off of Ustick. I don't know about the Cherry one, where that's gonna be. I don't see it on there myself, but, maybe we could put crash bollards so they can't drive through, they can walk to our park or so. I'm glad to see they're gonna have their own swimming pools and things like that, but, there's 32 parking spots in our little park. 4 of them are handicapped. That's it. They're parking on both sides of the street right now. It's really difficult to get emergency vehicles through there. I don't know what's going to happen with our irrigation. Does our pressure go down? Last time somebody tapped into it, we struggled for over a year trying to get our pressure back. I don't know about water pressure, internet connection, all that stuff is relevant now. So it's, you just okayed over 600 houses within a mile of us. This one here is another 600 or 700 I can throw a rock to from my house. They said they don't need a school. How does that make any sense? It just goes on and on. A lot of these we just had a bunch of subdivisions built around us. They've gone to rentals. And we've got houses with footprints bigger than their lots, So it's, we had a nice little community, 25 houses, the park right in the middle. It was our park. The city decided to take it. That's wonderful. We're also on a lift station. Hopefully they'll be able to solve that problem with their sewer down Ustick, which is going to be completely overrun for the next umpteen years. So they will be coming through our subdivisions, armies of trucks. Are they going to rebuild the roads after they rut them all up and everything? It goes on and on. I've been in construction my whole life. I know how it works. So it's too much density, And it came up earlier, density, comparable lots. We've got 15,000 foot lots in ours, And yeah, they're going to back it up with some decent sized lots along the canal, but then real quickly it gets crowded real fast. And if they go rentals, which around us they have, they turn into flop houses. You get 4, 5, 6 cars per house.
All right, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next is Mark Graham.
My name is Mark Graham. I live at 5088 West Tournament Drive in Meridian. I'm also in the Turnberry Crossing subdivision. I understand that Meridian is growing and people need places to live. So conceptually, I'm not opposed to building subdivisions so that people have a place to live. my only question, which all these other people have raised, is all of the traffic that's going to, that's going to be funneling through these subdivisions. And it seems to me that, and I don't understand the mechanics and what the city's allowed to do and not allowed to do. So leaving all that aside, the collector street comes down and stops at the southern end of the subdivision. And can the city or planning and zoning make approval dependent upon extending that collector all the way down to Cherry? I don't know whether it would require condemnation of some ado right or, whatever the mechanism is. But that way people could easily get down to Cherry because, as they said, all the shopping's on Cherry. And so that would allow people to leave the subdivision easily and not flood the subdivisions to the east. And I think that would make it much more palatable to everyone if that could be part of the approval and building of this subdivision, if that little piece of land just to get down to Cherry would be required to get that street built before they built houses.
We'll have the applicant answer that question when she comes back up.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your testimony.
Madam Chair, Tom Robinson.
I live at the southeast corner of Seasons Park.
Can you give your name and address for
Tom
the record, please?
Robinson, 5198 West Ridgeside Court.
Thank you.
My issues are, one of them is safety. There's almost a hairpin turn as you come in on and turn onto Dayside, then onto Ridgeside Court. And if you come in there and you're not really hugging that outside corner and somebody's coming this way, there's going to be an accident there. And even those of us, the 25 homes that live there, if you're not really focusing, you're apt to get over a little too far. And if there's all kinds of other people going through there that aren't used to that, there's going to be an accident, and this city should be sued if there is for allowing this. That little road around that park is not suitable for handling hundreds and hundreds of cars. And there's going to be problems. It makes no sense. If a lot of this could be solved if you would finish first that connection with Cherry so that people could get on to Cherry on their own track over there. And if you would close off any opening from that subdivision to cars into Seasons Park. Leave it open for kids to ride their bicycles in, for people to walk in, but keep the traffic off around the park. It's dangerous. People are going to get hurt and killed. Kids running back and forth, they don't pay attention to cars parked. Cars parked not only around the park, there's only room for 31 cars in that whole area. If I looked up, and you need to have 24 to 26 feet for a car. There's 31 on the outside and 10 or 11, including 2 handicapped in the basketball court there. It just isn't safe to do it this way. If you'd open up the very first thing into Cherry, that would alleviate a lot of this traffic around that park, which was never designed to have heavy traffic. So, and another thing, if you're coming home at night from the east and that sun is right there, you cannot see. And unless you're over there rubbing the curb, and then of course people park where you're not, there's a sign there, no parking, but there's a game there, there's people there, activity there, and you can't see. And even if you're watching, you're not gonna, it just is not safe, it is not tenable. You could have some kind of opening at that northwest corner so an emergency truck could get through it, only that. And people could walk in, they could ride their bike in, they could do that, but don't overload that park to the point where there's going to be an accident. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, that was everyone who had marked they wanted to speak.
Is there anybody else in chambers that would like to speak, sir?
My name is Corey Thacker. I live at 5900 West Ustick, that little triangle piece just outside the Ustick exit. I grew up in a small town. When I first moved there in 2013, it was heaven, farm ground for as far as I could see. Obviously, I'm being drastically impacted. McDermott put down my west border. This neighborhood, which eventually will probably go in across my road. Durango, which is coming up next, planning and zoning going behind me. The only thing I ask, I don't want to stay. I want to get out. The only way that's possible for me, and I do have a contract at the moment, but it requires access for the purchaser, right? They've been in contact with Durango. They've talked to Durango about making sure to do a stem road over to their access, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know how that fits into their access because you got 500 houses coming this way. You've got Durango coming this way. So, I mean, I would ask that they talk together to make sure that that works, meeting ACHD, ITD, whatever, whichever, whoever, because that's part of the major stipulation of being able to sell that property is having a commercial access to that property. The other thing is I have water rights. The lateral that comes in going east to west, right through the middle of this subdivision, how do they plan to make sure that I get my water rights? I got 3/4 of an acre of water that's supposed to be piped in all the way down. I don't know how that's planned, right? So I guess the only thing that I would just sit here and say is, I mean, you're going to see me next month because I'm going to talk during Durango's as well. But the other half of it is, it's just kind of like the idea where it's like, there's plenty of properties in Meridian where you can see, because of lack of foresight, access, whatever, they sit empty on the corner of 10 Mile and U-Stick. There's a lot sitting there that you're like, well, why isn't a business there? Well, it's just plain empty, nothing, right? So if we plan in advance, the retail you're asking for all of the rooftops, well, I've got somebody that wants to put a retail there. So if we can do whatever is needed to make sure that happens, that would be great. So
And before you leave, which triangle is yours? Are you on the south side or the north side of the
I
street?
am on the north side of this, so the 5900 right across the road from their commercial lots.
Oh, okay,
It's not necessarily a triangle, it's like a trapezoid, I guess you'd call it, or
okay.
it is.
And how many acres do you have?
I have 4. It would take a little longer than I have time to explain.
Right,
So 4 of that is mine. 2 of it belongs to Marquez, but he's apparently agreed to sell it to the people who are wanting to buy mine
okay,
to put in that road.
okay,
So
okay. All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Chantel Robinson, 5198 West Riverside Court, Meridian, Idaho. What I'm hearing about all this, I don't think even we need to hear about this if a city planned ahead of time. All the road first, city plan it, what goes where, then allow developer to develop it according to whatever. Instead, it's like going, developer go first, what's coming seems like backwards. City needs to plan it ahead of time, whatever the retailer, school, road first, sewage first seems more economical, makes more sense. As it is, all the developer runs the show and city just saying, okay, not enough opposition. It's like, seems like strange to me. And I mean, we call the city, means the planet, not some village, individual property developing, whatever. So I think I would like to request the city to kind of, okay, from now on, 5-year plan, 10-year plans, whatever, kind of plan it ahead of time. So plan more traffics, budgeting, sewer line, all this. I think it makes more sense to me. City needs to plan and run the show and lead the planning, not the developer. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in chambers? Chris, do we have anybody online?
Madam Chair, we do not.
Would the applicant like to come forward to answer some of the questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Commission, Becky McKay, Engineering Solutions. So one of the questions obviously is the collector roadway and the long-range planning. The collectors that we show within this development match that long-range transportation plan for this area based on the master street map adopted by ACHD and within the comprehensive plan of the city of Meridian showing the mid-mile collectors. Everyone is always concerned, you know, the size of these larger projects, that all these homes are going to be built immediately. Well, I want to remind the commission that this particular project is a 13-phase project. And we typically will develop maybe 1 to 2 phases per year. And on these larger projects, it takes time. It takes time to get them off the ground, and it takes time to build them out. For example, Ridge Tower subdivision that I did, it took 15 years just to develop what was on the east side of 10 Mile. The west side of 10 Mile is still ongoing. And it had commercial components and it had, you know, residential components, but these don't happen overnight. So it's not like we're going to be generating the maximum trips immediately. There's concern about the connection to Trish's Way. Now, there's an existing stub street there. It's kind of at an angle. And my recommendation when I met with the neighbors, I did have multiple neighborhood meetings, was that we install an island there, which would, it's naturally kind of chokes that traffic. And if traffic does go that direction, that it slows it down. Right now, there are, I believe, 354 trips on that roadway. That's it, 354. The volume for a existing local street is 2,000 trips a day under the Ada County Policy Manual. And they have 354. We've done everything we can to connect to Classic Drive, Tournament Drive on the east boundary so that it's a very circuitous connection. So our traffic does not have the inclination of feeding through them, that it's going to be an easier way to go out to Dayspring, to the collector, and then out to U-Stick. And so that was one of the key planning things that we worked on to make sure that we did not promote cut-through traffic. Yes, they do have roadways that end up going over to Black Cat, but you know, you're going to have to cut through. And so, like I said, if we make it so that it's difficult, people will take the path of least resistance. And that's how we've planned this whole project. I can't put a barricade up and make it a pedestrian connection. Under the Ada County Policy Manual, under the Meridian UDC, it says you shall connect to any existing public stub street. So therefore, I don't have a choice. We didn't have a choice, but we worked with the district, we worked with the city to try to minimize that impact on these neighborhoods. One person indicated that they're concerned about their pressure irrigation. So their pressure irrigations in the adjoining developments, Jaden Village, Trish's Crossing, they're owned, operated by Nampa Meridian Irrigation District. Nampa Meridian Irrigation District has asked us to put in a massive pump station down on the Safford Lateral where our water rights are, and they want to own and maintain it. Their plan is to interconnect to the existing systems that they currently maintain in the adjoining developments, then to create a backup. And anytime we can loop those systems, that creates better pressure. If a pump goes down in one station, you've got a backup with another pump station. So that is only going to improve their pressure irrigation. As far as our lot sizes, I have a bunch of lot sizes, especially adjoining those developments. They range from 8,200 to 9,300. I have some that range from 10,000 to 11,800. I have lots that are 11,000 to 17,000 square feet. So I'm not putting little bitty lots next to their larger lots. We worked to transition. That's why that whole south and that east quadrant is all R4. If we look at our density, you know, our density is what, 3.43,
I think.
43 or whatever. Sorry, it's been a long night. It's been a long week. So, you know, we're in that lower, we're not up there pushing that envelope. You know, that project that was before us, you know, they're coming in at what, 8.06 in a 3 to 8 dwelling unit, asking for an R15. I'm not doing that. We're under 4. We're staying on that lower end. We're looking at compatibility. We're looking at transition. We're looking at what kind of traffic we're generating. We know there are thresholds. This whole area from a transportation perspective is going to change when State Highway 16 is completed. The traffic patterns are going to be completely different, and it's going to be an expressway. They're going to have access to I-84. We're going to have interchanges. We're going to have 5-lane U-stick, not a 2-lane U-stick with intermittent sections of sidewalk. It's going to have continuous sidewalk and 5 lanes. So as far as the comments that, you know, hey, the transportation system should be built first before you come in, the transportation system is being built. And it's very rare that I come before this commission where we're seeing such public investment from the state, from Ada County Highway District to improve the transportation ahead of me impacting this roadway network. As far as safety around the park, there is a neighborhood park, Seasons Park, within the development to the east. You know, they have playgrounds, they have shelters, they have open fields. We're going to have our own playgrounds. We're going to have our own shelters. We're going to have our own open fields. We're going to have multiple swimming pools. We're going to have our own pathway network. We may have kids that go over there, but we're trying to obviously make sure that we have amenities to serve these residents so that we don't overburden that neighborhood park. And that is the intent of the UDC requiring the 15% open, qualified open space and a certain number of amenity points. And we have what, 30-some acres of open space within this development? I mean, that's significant, in my opinion. Then we're going to have the regional park to the southwest of us when that gets built and funded. The other thing is there's an existing lift station at Trisha's Way, right here, right there. That lift station was not intended to be there. When that project was approved, that engineer indicated it could gravity sewer to Meridian. After approval, then the engineer said, well, I made a mistake, it can't. Then they went to the city public works department and said, we need a temporary lift station. The city was not happy about that, not happy about it. As a condition of approval, with my first phase, the first thing we have to do is decommission that lift station that serves these residents and connect them to the gravity sewer. That lift station is costing the city of Meridian money every year for maintenance, operation, power, etc. So that burden is up on us. And so not only are we making improvements that are going to benefit this development, it will benefit the community as a whole. These projects are in a priority growth area, and I want you to keep that in mind. I'm not jumping clear out into the sticks. And like I said, it'll take us a couple years to get this going. And I would ask that the commission consider that, look at the quality, look at the variety of lots I'm providing and my low density, and approve this. Thank you.
Quick question. One of the questions came, Dayspring comes off of U Stick. Does it connect all the way through to Cherry Lane?
Madam Chair, the collector roadway does not, within our project, does not connect to Cherry Lane. So it will be extended when these properties to the south of us develop. This collector, they will have to extend it and connect it to Cherry Lane. So it's only a matter of time.
Okay, so when I'm looking at this picture, the bottom white part, that's just a stub street then?
Yes, ma'am.
And so in order to get out, I would have to go to Black Cat? To the east?
You would either go to U-Stick, or you'd go out to the bypass, get on Highway 16.
Okay, I see.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, they'll be making right-hand turns on U-Stick. So existing services are not to the west. Existing services are to the east.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that all of these, we have different, what I call pods, and they all connect to that Dayspring Way. And then we want to make it convenient, easy, go to Dayspring Way, make a right turn on U-Stick, and then go down U-Stick.
Okay. And where are you going to start, north or south? North, because of the sewer?
We'd have to start at the north, because that's where the sewer and the water will be. We'll have to build a good portion of that collector, and then we also have to, with our first phase, bring in this street and take that lift station offline.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Becky?
Madam Chair, I have a question. Might end up being a question for staff. I just want to make sure that we have some sort of answer on this. That for the gentleman that was concerned about access with this in Durango, it looks like I'm seeing some stubs into his property, some stubs into Durango from this project. And I'm just curious, do we have any visibility? Talking with those developers, just trying to help answer that question of what connection might look like from your property through Durango into that property via stubs.
Cross U-Stick?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Durango's on the.
Yeah, they're on the north, his property is on the north side.
Sorry, for the southern triangle, sorry. I assumed that was what we were talking about. But it looks like there are stubs going in from this application to that southern chunk. And then, he takes access of U-Stick and also access via the eastern kind of stub there. I'm just curious, do we have visibility on what kind of that interconnectivity between those parcels might look like? Am I making sense?
Madam Chair, so you're talking the triangular area?
Yes.
Yes, I do have their site plan. So I have a stub street that goes into it here. I have a stub street that goes into their project here. We have pathway connections in our park and ride and interconnectivity here in their triangular area. And then if they wanted access here, they would align with this street. Okay. So they have 3 different options, but they will all feed to Dayspring Way.
Thank you.
And then the commercial portion owned by the church, they have an proposed access to U-Stick.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith?
I have one unrelated question, also regarding the pump, on that sublateral. Just curious in regards to the phasing, when that is intended to go in, the pump that NMID asked for.
Madam Chairman, Commissioner Smith, the pump station will have to go in with phase one.
Okay.
Because we have to have pressurized irrigation for our first phase. And the pump station, I think we had it located right in this location.
Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair, Becky, what's the distance from the southern part of your development of Day Spring down to Cherry?
It appears to be less than a quarter mile.
Quarter mile.
Bill, is that about right?
And what's the phasing of timeframes that you think for the southern part of that, your development that's going to be occurring? Roughly, you got 14 phases. What year are we talking about?
Well, typically my clients like to have diversity of product. So the phasing is kind of going to bounce around a little bit so that maybe we have some alley load homes, and then we'll want estate lots in the south portion. They always like to get their central amenity in with their first phase. So I would anticipate that we'd build that collector down and then have some of those larger estate lots. Pretty, within, I don't know, probably 4 years would be my guess. Take us 2 years to get the first phase online, the offsite, and then within 4 years be down there. So they like to have, we have different lot sizes and different size homes. So we like to, diversity is the key to success in the marketplace. So you can appeal to different people. If the market slows down, you don't have just a whole bunch of high-end, large estate lots, nor do you want to have a whole bunch of, duet or townhome lots. You want variety. And that was the success with Bridge Tower, that even during the Great Recession, we were still doing more phases because it wasn't just another subdivision, it was a community. And that's what this is. The projects that are just another subdivision, those were the ones that tanked, went back to the banks. The larger projects that had diversity in product, that were still, might have been a slow crawl, but they were still moving forward. Those were the projects that we saw success with.
I'm sure there's one more question for me. Have you been in conversations with the property owner to the south of your development, since you're talking about a quarter mile to connect to Jerry?
Madam Chair, Councilman Stoll, yes, I did. There was a gentleman that he owns a nursery. He indicated to me that he was not opposed to the project, that he assumed, with all the activity with the State Highway 16 extension, that eventually that project would develop. And so I think he was kind of looking at, as we bring this collector down and we bring water down, then that's obviously going to set his parcel up for prime development ground.
Commissioners, any more questions for Becky? Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved to second to close the public hearing for Day Spring subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I think the challenge is that it's just so big. It's overwhelming, but we're also looking at 15 years to build it all out. There was a comment about how come there's no school, but West Ada has acreage on the north side of Ustick as opposed to the south side of Ustick. So there is a school, it's just not on the north side of the street, it'll be on the south side of, excuse me, it'll be on the north side of the street, not the south side of the street. The questions about infrastructure, I feel like were answered. And overall, the design of the subdivision is vast. I like the diversity of it. It's a shame that we haven't been able to connect to Cherry Lane right now, but every owner has a right to sell their property when they wish to. It's not up to the city to force anybody to do that. And the stub streets are already there, and ACHD has already said, even before any of you moved into your community, when you saw those red stripes that said future roadway or whatever it says, that it was always planned to be there. I like the fact that the commercial is on Ustick, and I think initially the phasing is going to go slow enough that it will trickle in, and other parcels will continue to develop and creating infrastructure. When I first saw this, I was overwhelmed, but now that Becky has kind of explained and how it's going to work, it's going to connect to the bypass, 5 lanes on Ustick, Highway 16, it is all going to change. And our little country living off of Ustick Road is going to change. And they are preparing themselves so that in 2027, when ACHD widens Ustick Road, that they can be part of that change. So I am actually in supporting of this. And of course, it all predicates on whether or not the city and the developer can come to an agreement, the development agreement to do the sewer. If that's not going to happen, then none of this happens. So between now and the hearing with the city council, that's going to happen. I think the only criticism I have on this one is that a few years after the Oaks was built, that the community complained that there's a property on the north and the south side of McMillan for the Oaks, and that their amenities were, kind of crossing over, and there weren't enough. Even though you have that open space, and it was specifically on the pools. And so I envision, a few years from now that people say, they're in my pool, but, that's a detail to work out later. Commissioners, what do you think?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Perot?
Thank you. So I have lived near Black Cat and Cherry since 2009. So I've been out in this area before the 10-mile interchange existed. I have been out here before a good majority of all the subdivisions existed. So I can relate with concerns about growth out here and how fast it feels like it's happening. I live in an area that is near Fuller Park. It's belonged to the West Ada Recreation District, now owned and run by the city. And that park has hundreds of houses and subdivisions around that park. And in regard to concerns with Seasons Park, hardly anybody uses it. And there's walking access, there's driving access. It's a fabulous place to be, and it's underused. And so I don't, and the reason it's underused is because the neighborhoods around it have their own parks, have their own places to play. And I anticipate this is going to be a similar situation. But if you ever get a chance, Fuller Park is amazing. So having seen this many subdivisions built and the interconnectivity that's purposefully done between the subdivisions, the more connectivity you have, the more streets you have, the more you take individual cars off of each street, which means that the cars have multiple options. So they're not all funneling down one street and out to another arterial. And we know that's true because we've built so many subdivisions in this manner that ACHD knows how traffic flows and the way in which folks tend to go. They're going to take the easiest route they can, and that is not to go through multiple short streets and stop at stop signs and stop at stop signs. They're going to go where there's not, where there's a smooth sailing option. So I just want to say that, I don't know if that gives the neighbors any encouragement or not, but I've been seeing this going on for a very, very long time. And this neighborhood has more connected streets than almost anyone I've seen in the recent past. I've been making decisions with the city since 2017, and I don't know that I've seen a subdivision that has like 7 or 8 connections. So that's a good thing, even though it might seem like it's not. Otherwise, I also have the same sentiments as the chairwoman that this feels overwhelming and big, but it's not necessarily a poorly designed community.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Smith?
Earlier tonight, I think we saw a good example of a project, for example, that while in the best interests of the city to move forward with, maybe had some significant concerns around access and design and variety and things that kind of weighed against it that honestly for me made a little bit of heartburn. I don't have that feeling with the way that this development is designed. I know it wasn't intended with malice. It always rubs me a little the wrong way when I hear that this commission or the city kind of is seen as a rubber stamp on developers. I think a lot of people don't see the incredible work that staff does behind the scenes to ensure that projects and applications are up to a really high standard by the time they get to us. And so it's easy when you see a lot of approvals, you can kind of miss those details. I think this is a great product of the developer and staff working together on something that really is a good fit. I see the transition space. I was counting at one point on the map, almost kind of 1-to-1 ratios of backyards on those borders. I understand that change can be hard, and especially a change at this scale all at once. You can hear 500 houses. It's easy to bristle at that, and it's understandable. But over this large of a space and looking at the density, I think the density is really appropriate given kind of the surrounding density of those neighboring developments. I think this is an area that's growing quickly, and I feel for people who are seeing a significant change from what they're used to, but that's the reality. And to echo your comment, Madam Chair, those stub streets are there for a reason. They're there to indicate that something is going to go there in the future. And so I would just encourage, I genuinely mean this. I think this is a really good development. I think this is thought out very well. And a lot of the heartburn that I might see for other developments, I don't feel about this. And so, I'm just a stranger at a dais, but hopefully that, provides some comfort that I genuinely think this is a really good project with really diverse offerings, and a lot of the density that does exist is north, closer to Ustick, funneling people out that way to hopefully lessen the impact on the eastern kind of neighboring communities. So I'm fully in support of this. I understand some of the concerns, but I think this is genuinely a really great project.
Well, hopefully we were able to answer some questions today too. Commissioner Stoll, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I appreciate that. Overall, large projects are breathtaking, both as far as the size and what it's going to mean for the community. I look back fondly upon and prefer when I moved to this area in 1993, and I wish it had stayed what it was back then. But many of the opportunities and amenities that were not there in 1993 are here now because of growth that has occurred, and new friends that I've made over that time period. Large developments, although breathtaking, can be and are very beneficial as far as helping to put into effect a transportation system that we know is going to be impacted by this development. It's the small ones that choke us and cause problems in the long term. And I would recommend that folks take a look at the good work that the city has done with the comprehensive plan, because they have laid out what they want the city to grow as. The county has done the same thing. Look at the work that the Community Planning Association of Southwest Idaho has done for its long-range transportation plan for the two counties. And then also what ACHD has done with its master streets plan. The challenge isn't that planning hasn't been done. It's the lack of financial resources that we have within the state on how we are set up. And we would all love to put in the transportation infrastructure now, because it would save us a lot of money in buying the right of way, but that's not how it's set up. And we as voters often turn down opportunities or contact our legislators and say, no, don't increase our property tax, or sorry, don't increase our gas tax. We contact ACHD and say, we don't want impact fees to go up or our property tax to go up. And the same thing with the city. Till that changes, we're going to be reactive on trying to put in the transportation system, and it's going to be developments coming in first, and then we'll be doing the improvements later on. This particular development, there's really only two things that give me pause. And one I just answered is the connection on the southern part to U-Stick. I wish that was being done now as opposed to later. But we have the development application in front of us now. We don't have one at a later date. The cooperative agreement, I still struggle with why we're having this conversation before the cooperative agreement has been executed, but I understand why. And as long as we have the condition that the cooperative agreement has to be executed within 6 months, I'm comfortable with going forward with this development.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Perot.
just one more quick statement. At the corner of Black Cat and McMillan, this same developer, Toll Brothers, built a 700-plus home subdivision. And they built it on McMillan, which is a 2-lane road with no intention of it being expanded. This is, I'm not advocating for this per se, but just to have a comparison, this is going to be built on a 5-lane road. And so I think that traffic is going to move better than what you see on McMillan with that 700-plus home subdivision that's there at Black Cat and McMillan. I also am curious if Toll Brothers has applied for their own zip code now, or is that coming?
All right.
Madam, if I may.
Yes.
I've been the only one that's been not doing this.
Give it a go.
I'd like to make a motion, after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to recommend approval to the city council of file number H 2024-0070 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 5th, 2025.
Second that.
It's been moved and second to approve Day Spring subdivision. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Did I say Day Spring? Is this one Spring Day? Which one is it? Day Spring? Okay, Day Spring subdivision.
Madam Chair, can you clarify its recommend approval?
A recommended approval, and I say aye.
Aye.
All right. Before we adjourn, 2 housekeeping things. Number 1, we do not have planning and zoning on June 19th since it's a federal holiday. We will be on June 26th. I understand we have 5 or 6 applications, so it'll be a full day. And just a reminder, when Tina sends out emails, if we can all respond to all quickly so that she can get a quorum. I think with people being on vacation this summer, it'll be a little bit challenging. And with that, I'll take one more motion.
Madam Chair, just one other clarification.
Oh,
for
one more
6:26.
housekeeping?
Yep. It's going to start at 6:30.
Oh, 6:30 on the 26th.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I will take one more motion.
Chair.
Commissioner Smith?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.